Matt Bradley, hello. How we doing, brother?
Dude, I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm great. Thanks so much for doing this. We've been talking about it for a while. You were supposed to be the first guest, actually,
Mm-hmm.
and then we ended up having Megan do it because she was here for the comp, and she was a great first guest. So I'm super honored to have her on the podcast. Now we get to do it with you, man.
Let's go.
You have become like an icon in the ninja community. Some would call it the goat of course design, even. So that's very cool. So maybe we can start with like how you got into ninja, and then we can just kind of go from there.
Cool. Yeah. So I started Ninja when I was 11. My cousin came to stay with us to do this like camp thing near my house, and he was like, "Oh, you gotta watch this show. It's really cool." And he showed me A&W. I remember the first episode I watched was the Venice qualifiers in season 5. So we watched that, and then the new episode that night was like the Denver qualifiers. So those were my first 2 episodes. And I thought that was really cool. But I didn't end up actually really getting into it until the next episode, which was the Venice finals. That course was so cool. It had like the rope maze and the cliffhanger in it. So I was like, oh, this course is a banger. So then after that, me and my dad built a cliffhanger, and that's kind of where I like started from.
Interesting. Shout out that cousin, man. I get you into it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
That's so cool. So, what season you say it was again?
5, so 2013.
2013.
So second season where finals was in America.
Oh wow. And what stood out to you most when you first watched it? Like it seems like you said the cliffhanger and rope maze. Like, you thought that was cool. So even back then, you had like an idea of like, oh, this is a cool looking obstacle or whatever.
Yeah, like I don't even know what really like struck me about it, to be honest. I was just watching it and thought it was cool. Um, but yeah, I remember seeing the cliffhanger and something about that obstacle, man. I was like, "Oh, that was sick." So yeah, I mean, we built one of those, probably because the rope maze was way too complicated for me and my dad to build. Um, but yeah, so that's where it all started from.
That's kind of crazy. That's actually so crazy to think about. So cliffhanger is the first obstacle you built it with your dad, and then so even from the very beginning, you have been into building obstacles.
Yeah, so I've always kind of like been into building things. So my dad is an engineer. And he always had like a workshop. Like when he was a kid, he would work on cars in his dad's garage. Like his first car was like an old army Jeep that he like fixed up. Like he bought it for like $300 or something and then fixed it up. And then when we got like our house that like I grew up in, he had like a nice workshop in there. So even when I was a kid, we would like build like Pinewood Derby cars and stuff for like the Boy Scouts, and that's kind of where I learned to build stuff. And then when I got into Ninja, obviously that was a lot more useful, and he really liked that because he got to like actually participate in it in a way that like he was good at. Like if I was playing like football or basketball, whatever, he could kind of just like watch and whatever. But with Ninja, he could actually like, oh, we're gonna build this obstacle. Oh, I can teach you how to do this thing that I know how to do.
Wow, I don't think I even knew that about the whole Pine Derby thing, building cars and all that. So I had no idea. Look at that. I've known you for how long, and I still learn new things. That's so cool. So after you built your first obstacle, you started training. You started training at Gravity Forge, right?
I didn't start training at a gym until I was like a year into Ninja, roughly. I was training in my backyard.
The old days. That's
For a
how we all used to do
while.
it. That's how we all used
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, no mats, all in the backyard. It was pretty sick. No, so I trained in my backyard for a good little while. And then the first gym I ever went to was actually Alternate Routes, the original location.
The OG.
I went to stay with my godmother, and she was like, "Oh, wow, I found this gym near me, so you wanna go try it?" And I was like, "Sure, man." So I pulled up to that. It was pretty sick. I think there was like a comp either the day before or the next day. So like the comp obstacles were set up. They had this crazy bridge of blades that was like
Oh no.
two 4x8s, plywood just like scaffold clamped onto a bar with no pads. I saw some people sending that and it looked pretty awesome, but I didn't try it. Um, yeah, that was cool too because I got to work on their big like famous ultimate cliffhanger, which I had always been into like the ninja like content. Like I watched a lot of YouTube Ninja. So I was already pretty familiar with alternate routes' like competitions because they would post those. So I always wanted to try that cliffhanger. And I didn't get it. I was kind of mad. It was really hard.
It was hard back then, yeah.
Yeah, dude, that up move was so hard.
Oh my god, yeah.
But yeah, so that was cool. And then a little while, I don't exactly remember the timeline, but a little while later, Gravity opened and I started going there more regularly. That was probably when I was about like 13. So yeah, then I would train at my house and there as well.
Wow. So you've been doing Ninja since 2013.
Yeah.
Started on your own, then Gravity Forge. And how long did you train at Gravity Forge, or just in general, before you had your first competition?
I trained. Oof. I probably trained for like a year, year and a half before my first competition. And then that was a multi-stage at Gravity. It was the first season of WNL, so it was before there was youth. Um, and I didn't quite feel like ready to do a pro WNL yet, so I did the youth comp. I ended up winning that, so that was cool.
Dang, bro, first competition, first W. Wild.
What's it? I only won because of like they adjusted the advancement rules. I fell on stage one actually. But then they were like, so like only one person cleared stage one, so we're gonna take more people to stage two. And then I won two and three. So
So even back then, what was your favorite obstacle to train?
cliffhanger and salmon ladder.
Dang, upper body since the beginning.
Yeah. Because like cliffhanger, I could always do kind of like naturally. Like other than that alternate routes cliffhanger, I was always like naturally good at until I built a crazy cliffhanger, and that was when I like finally had trouble with cliffhanger. But salmon ladder, I was so bad at salmon ladder. I couldn't do a pull up when I started.
Wow.
So I built my first salmon ladder, which was like 6-inch rungs and 2 feet wide, so like as scaled down as possible. And I had to like every day for a month go out there and just practice that thing until I could do it. I remember I got one rung and I was so excited, I like ran in and told my mom. So that was fun. So yeah, a lot of those, and then also like flying bar once I got a flying bar. I mean banger obstacle. So
Yeah, I remember when I built my first salmon ladder. It was on a tree. Did you ever see that video?
I don't know if I have. I've seen your similar with the 4x4s and the nails coming out of
Yeah,
it. That one's
yeah,
pretty sick.
yeah.
Oh, those tree salmon ladders are fire. Me and my dad built one between two trees, like
Yo,
bridging between it. It was so cool.
that's dope. Yeah, no, my first salmon ladder was like the sketchiest thing. It was these two essentially like twigs. I don't even they weren't even trees. I'd say they're more of like twigs, you know? Like this like maybe like this big around, like not very like thick. I just like nailed some like 2x4s that were like I think they were actually door stops. They're like triangular door stops. And I just like nailed them to the tree and just like started ripping it.
Oh, dude, I'm sure you're using like a steel bar too.
Oh yeah. No, I think it was actually hilariously enough. I think it was like a part of a like a crutch or something.
Dude, we had fire bars back in the day. Like I remember I used like a curtain rod at one point. My dad made me like this composite bar that was like a dowel with PVC hose clamped on the outside of it.
Wow.
Oh my god, it was awesome.
Dude, absolutely crazy. Yeah, and then, like, after that, I mean, the first couple obstacles I built were on trees because I didn't know any better. I was, like, just a kid just screwing things or nailing things to, like, random pieces I could find. And then, yeah, the first, like, real build was with my dad with the salmon ladder, which was obviously that nail thing. So
Yeah, what's a lot of my first builds were off trees too. Like my cliffhanger was just a board on a fence, so it wasn't very like high tech. But then we started building a rig. We put just like some monkey bars on like this olive tree in our backyard, which was very flexy. Like I'd hang on this thing and it had like maybe a foot of drop. And then we kind of built the rest of the structure off of that. So we built like a monkey bars, and then once I saw Sasuke on YouTube, the first Sasuke course I ever saw was Sasuke 27 Stage 3, which is one of my all-time favorite courses. Like banger obstacle, got like the arm bike, flying bar, ultimate cliffhanger, and then that section with the rope ladders and the chain seesaw. Oh, that section is so freaking cool. I saw the chain seesaw and like I wanted to build that. I didn't know how to do a lache yet. So I was like swinging on these PVC nunchucks trying to do this lache. It was like 2 feet. I couldn't do that at all. And then after that, we built more off of that. We built like a pipe slider that was extremely unstructurally sound. I don't know what we were thinking. We used like some curtain rods and like built this structure to the ground that was like extremely crooked. I don't know why we built it that way, to be honest. And then after that, we built my salmon ladder. So that was pretty cool.
so this was all still in the backyard then,
This
right?
is yeah, my backyard, off of a tree. So one half of the course was on the ground with posts, which were 2x4s. And then the other half of the course was it was like a cantilever that was supported by this tree. So it was somehow attached. I don't even remember how exactly it was attached, but it was like an aluminum ladder ratchet strapped to the tree with the other things being braced off of that. So it was pretty crazy. Good thing I was a small kid.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was pretty sick.
So that lasted how long, and when did you first start the barn? And for those of you that don't know, maybe you can talk a little bit about the barn before we get into like how it started and stuff. But like obviously the barn's become like an integral part of what you do. It's led to a lot of things that we're going to get into later in a little bit, I guess. But I guess like yeah, when did you first start transitioning to building in the barn?
I got the barn in like 2016 or 17. Right before I went into no, it was between my freshman. It was around when I went into high school, something like that. My memory's pretty terrible. Um, but yeah, so right around then, it was probably I think it was like the seventh course I had built or something.
Hmm.
Because I had my one at home, and then I had a couple just in like my basement, and then we moved to the house where the barn is, which has quite a bit more land. So I built two separate courses there, and then and two in the basement. So that was like my fourth, or there were four courses there at one point. And then we ended up building the barn, and I built like my current course in there. I was injured at the time, so I had this rare injury to my elbow where you have like it's called OCD. Our student Ethan has it actually right now. He's recovering now. So while I had that injury, that's a really long recovery time. I had to get surgery for it. So to kind of like keep my spirits up, my parents like, okay, we're gonna build this really cool course, but you have to learn to like 3D model, and you're gonna model the whole thing, and then we're gonna build it. So that's kind of what like kept me occupied while I was injured for a long time. Like it was like 9 months or something, and plus a little bit for like PT. So I'd be sitting at school, ignoring my classes, working on my 3D model of the barn. I still have some of my old models of it, but that were prior to the one that I actually ended up building. It's pretty funny to look at those. I had some interesting ideas for that course. So, but yeah, anyway, so then I became able to do stuff again. We built the building, and then first thing we built, big salmon ladder. So that was pretty cool. And then we kind of just went from there. We built like a lache rack, and then built a cliffhanger and a little vertical limit section. And then yeah, we kind of went from there. And then over COVID, I redid the whole thing to get it closer to kind of how it is right now. And then we added a big truss structure, which is cool because that helps me with a lot of my like W&L jobs, being able to actually rig with bars instead of on wood. So that's helpful.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to get into all the W&L stuff too. But so the barn has become a place where people have traveled from so far to come and train at. Like it's actually pretty insane how many athletes have come and trained with you at the barn, and it's become like a staple in the community, really. Um, how do you think it became or got to that point?
We had hard obstacles, man. That's why, like, frankly, like, um, I mean, I would just like post my like hard obstacles that I was doing, and people are like, "Yo, that's sick," and then would want to come train. I think also too, it just ended up that like my friend group, it was the group that ended up kind of being like the high level ninjas, from the Northeast. So them just being my friends and coming to train, it kind of ended up that when they became more well known, that the barn at like via proxy became more well known as well.
Interesting. Yeah. And for a while, I mean, you were obviously you still are, but you were like a very talented ninja, winning competitions, doing really well in comps and things. So that probably had to help with it too.
Yeah,
Like you
that helped
also were
too.
building a name. Yeah. So maybe even like from your first competition, that four-stage comp at Gravity, until I want to say maybe like your last competition, what was like your biggest takeaway as an athlete to this point?
Competing is hard, man. Yeah, I mean, competing is like super difficult. You would think it's just like, oh yeah, you do these obstacles all the time. You run out there and you just go do them, but like it's like a whole different animal. Even if it's an obstacle you've done before, doing it in a competition, just like the nerves, um, and just like I don't know, that different competition mindset for me at least makes it like so much more difficult to go out there and perform. Um, yeah, like, I don't know, like, people always debate, like, oh, how much of Ninja is physical versus mental, and, like, I'm in the, like, 90-10 mental camp. Like, I think the mental is, like, by far more important than, the physical. Like, for example, like, in my own competitive career, I've lost to people who, frankly, weren't as, like, physically skilled as I was a lot of times because, like, mentally, I just wasn't there.
I 100% agree. Yeah. I think for me, I think it's like maybe 80-20, maybe even 85. But I agree. Like, mental part is way more important. Like, being able to handle those nerves. Because I think people understand, like, especially on the show, like, you train all year round, you have one opportunity, You go out there, all it takes is one mistake. You don't get to practice the obstacles ahead of time, and then you're done. And even like in comps at gyms nowadays, or at worlds, it's the same thing. You have one try, and all it takes is one mistake, and then your run's over. So I think it's like one of the hardest parts of the sport is that huge mental aspect for sure. And it's hard to navigate too, especially for us as coaches, because we can't tell someone how to handle that. We can give them ideas and tips, but like ultimately, like they got to find what works for them to handle those emotions, nerves, whatever, stress, that competitive stress in that environment.
Yeah, no, for sure. Cause like, I mean, what works for me, like, probably won't work for most of my students. Like, I'm pretty different from them. Everyone's different. And even just like the people that I know that I've competed with, all of us like have our different ways that we get ready to compete. And like, I'm sure if I tried Jackson's preparation, he tried mine, we'd probably both do terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. So what is your prep process? Maybe people hearing the process you go through might help them to find their own.
Yeah, um so for me, the most important part is making sure that I actually do my prep. I really hate preparing for competitions, like warming up and planning all that. I really don't enjoy it. So most like when I compete nowadays, I'll like have a kid I know coach me, so they like kind of learn how to coach because I'm like really difficult to work with. Um, and I'll tell them like, oh, listen, you better make sure I actually do my warm up, bro, because if I don't do well, it's probably because I didn't do my warm up, and I'll be all mad. Um, but yeah, so for me, I like to have a good understanding of the course for sure, not just like what the obstacles are, but how they work. Because obviously, like people say like every salmon ladder is different, but that applies to every obstacle. Like every cliffhanger ledge is different. Some are made from like a 2x2 from Home Depot, others are resin ledges. They all have different profiles, different textures. And understanding those like little things about the obstacles give you so much of an advantage. Like even the competition I hosted last weekend that was like a tier two, everyone was thinking that the up for grabs obstacle at the end that the bar would spin. But if you like looked at the obstacle and looked at the angles that of the hooks and the rubber that was on it, like you could tell that the bar wouldn't spin. And a lot of people fell because they didn't have that realization. So like to me, that's super important. Like understanding the fine details of the construction of the course was always important to me. And then I was also very big into like visualization. Like I would do visualization and full like mimicry of the obstacles, like getting the motions into my body so that when I actually run, I can turn my brain off and kind of just go. So I would visualize, I would time out my run as well, so I'd have like a rough idea of my times. Because like there's like science about this. The more you like visualize something, it is in your brain basically the same thing as having done it. So like my goal was always to go into my courses like having already like run the course a bunch of times like in my head. And then I would get super nervous, so I would throw up before a lot of my runs.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. Well, I
that was
remember all
a
those crazy times.
yeah, that was a key part of my preparation process. And that was unfortunate too, because it's not like it would be regular. Like it would just be at some point. So there were multiple times where it was literally like right before my run. I was like, oh, well, I'll be right back,
I
guys.
remember. Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, there was one comp here where I like walked in and ran the course, like right after throwing up. It was pretty sick.
It was pretty. I think you won that comp.
I did win that comp. I did that at NSC finals too. Did not win that comp. So that was interesting. Yeah, so like for me, like it was usually like, okay, I can do all these obstacles. It was very, very late in my career when I actually like found an obstacle at a competition that I couldn't do. Like afterwards, just in general. But so for me, it would be a lot of that mental preparation with like preparing, visualizing, but also just like telling myself that I can do it, frankly. Like convincing myself like, okay, I am gonna do well. Like, cause that like belief in yourself is like a lot more important than you would think. Like you being thinking you can do an obstacle is actually like a really important part of actually being able to do said obstacle.
100%. Yeah, like 1,000%. That couldn't be more true. Yeah, I mean, you touched on some really important things I think people don't necessarily think about. Like, obviously, planning, preparation, going through the movements. A lot of times when you're at worlds or big comps, or even just watching elite ninjas, they'll go through, they'll be on the sidelines, like really walking through the motions. Imagine they're flying through the air, doing each skill. And like that does help you. Like you're saying, like when you start that course run, not to think about it, just do it. Let your body take over. Don't get in your own head. So, like, yeah, planning, visualization, But the one thing I think you said you touched on a second ago that I don't think anyone really does is, yeah, looking at the obstacles and trying to understand how they're gonna actually work.
Yeah, and, like, I guess that is an advantage I have, like, with, like, my building engineering background, like, I've built a lot of obstacles, and, like, obstacles are, like they have a lot of, like, variables to them, like, we were talking about, like, the cliffhanger, and, like, obviously, the thickness of the ledge is an important variable, but also, like, the shape of the ledge, the texture. Um, Little things like that are all super important. So understanding those things, like frankly, to know like what I can get away with on an obstacle. Like if I'm doing like a flying bar, different flying bars have different levels of like stickiness on the cradles. So like if I'm looking at a flying bar, what's it? I was at Gravity last this weekend, and the flying bar there that I built, was really slick, frankly. And, like, I was swinging on that thing, and I was like, "Dang, this is, like, kinda slick. I didn't do a very good job with this." Versus, like, the one here, is quite a bit grippier, so you can swing bigger on it, frankly. And, like, the one girl I was coaching, I kinda wish I'd explained to her how slick that flying bar was, because she was up there swinging, and she was not having a good time and ended up failing that next move, so but it's how it is.
Yeah, yeah, so planning, thinking through how the obstacles are gonna feel, how they're actually gonna function, and specifically, like, at comps like Worlds or A&W when you don't get to see the obstacles or touch them and, like, you just have to watch them on the sidelines and imagine how it's gonna feel and do when you're on them is an important skill. And I think the biggest thing you said, which I 100% agree with, is, yeah, that confidence. Because like, when you attack an obstacle with confidence and you think you're gonna get it, like, chances are you're gonna get pretty close. But the times you second guess yourself and you bail out, like, that's when you're gonna miss, and, like, it happens so much. I've done it so many times.
Yeah, for sure. And even if it's like a strength obstacle, for example, where there isn't like a big technical move you can mess up, approaching that obstacle with confidence is still going to make you more likely to get through it because you'll have a more aggressive approach. So you'll be like more efficient getting to that like crux section. So, like, even if it's not like a coordination move, an accuracy move, like going into it with the confidence that like going into the obstacle planning to get it, I think is like a really important thing. And even when I'm coaching, like I'll watch people and they go in and like you could tell they weren't like really planning on getting the obstacle, like they were just going in to get another turn in. And like I'll be like, listen, I want you to like get the obstacle on your next turn. Because a lot of times they can, but they just like kind of aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And because a lot of the things are like a lot of the obstacles are scary nowadays too. I mean, in general, like, you're high in the air, you're throwing from, these weird angles and things, and it's scary. And like, when you're faced with that fear and that adversity, that's when you lose that confidence. And then as soon as you lose that confidence because you're scared or for whatever reason, then your attempts aren't going to be as good. They're not going to be as clean. You're not going to have much power, and that's when you make those mistakes and fall. So, yeah, that confidence is huge. It's super huge. So you were on A&W. Maybe talk a little bit about your experience with A&W.
Yeah, I mean A&W is cool. I mean obviously being like a big like obstacles guy, getting on the obstacles was pretty cool. Like some of my like most cherished memories are actually like my testing on A&W in Vegas season 14. I got to run stages 1, 2, and 3. And like that stage 2 is like my all-time favorite course. It was so cool. Like it had like the hammer drop, which is so fun, and the big honeycomb obstacle, which was it was so cool. Like my testing run of that course is like my all-time favorite course run. It was so much fun. Because like, you never get to do those big obstacles over water like that, and, like, that's ultimately what I like, doing, like, the big crazy obstacles, like, doing obstacles in gyms is pretty cool, but, like, I've done that a lot, like, it's kinda lost a lot of its appeal, but doing, like, the big lache over water and then the giant hammer that swings you up and down while, like, fire is going off, like, that's awesome, so I enjoy doing that. And then, like, I think with A&W, like, it's a really, like, tough competition. Um, but, like, because of that, like, how do I put this? It's kind of like an experience with all the people there, like, because you're all kinda going through that diversity, like, it kind of brings you all together. Like, a lot of my, like, fondest memories there are also just kind of, like, hanging out with my friends. 'Cause obviously, like, I was saying earlier, my friends are the ones who kinda ended up being, like, successful on A&W, so I really enjoyed my time just, like, hanging out with them, kinda, like, trying to take this thing down, like, together, like, me and, Jackson and Luke and Jay, rented a crane so we could train for stage 4, and, like, we got a crane, we dropped a couple grand on it, we put a rope up, we were ripping 80-foot rope climbs in, like, 40-degree cold. We all did, like, 5 of them, which is kinda crazy. Yeah, a lot of rope was climbed that day.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's that shared experience, and I think that's like maybe one part of the sport that has been lost in recent years. Like, obviously, when I first started, it was just about beating the course. There wasn't as serious competition as there is nowadays, and it was just like you went to these comps, whether at gyms or A&W, whatever, and you were all trying to take down the mountain. They always that was like a big quote back in the day. Like, oh, we gotta take down the mountain. And it was like this shared experience of everyone training together, support each other. They gave each other advice on the sidelines and like help each other to get through those courses. And I feel like nowadays, as the sport's gotten so competitive and these different leagues exist, it kind of has lost that core thing that existed back in the day.
Yeah, I think that's true to a degree, but I still do think that like a lot of the like helping each other through the course and like looking at it as like a collective thing still is like there. Like one of the last competitions I did was like an NSC. And like I was competing with Jackson and like, oh man, I could not do this particle accelerator, man. I fell on that thing 6 times. It was pretty bad. But like, Jackson, who I was competing against, was still like, yo, Brad, you gotta do this, this, and this, bro. And then like I went and talked to my boy Sam about it too between my two runs, and he was like totally cool to like help me out with it. So, like, I think it has certainly come more competitive to a degree, but, like, there still is that, like, camaraderie between the competitors where we do ultimately, like, want each other to succeed.
Yeah, I think you're right, especially with like the elite level. It definitely still exists. Maybe it's a little different, but you're right. It definitely is still there. But I guess more so, I mean, like specifically with the kids and the youth, like it's definitely more cutthroat and
Yeah,
competitive.
no, I would agree with that. I'd like to see that attitude out of the kids more, and I still do see that a lot with the kids, especially the ones who have interacted with the pros a bit more. They kinda, like, learned that, like, that's what you do. But I think the one thing that the pros kinda had is, like, a lot of us did kinda grow up with A&W, and say what you will about A&W, but, like, when they actually are, like, airing the show, they do, like, talk about the, like, "Oh, everyone's cheering for everyone," like, they're trying to just defeat the course. So that was kind of, like, drilled into me as, like, a younger kid, where it's like, "Oh, it is about you against the course," and, like, all that. So especially being a Sasuke fan too, like, watching a lot of Sasuke, like, these guys are awesome. Like they're like out here making these huge, sketchy looking rigs out of like rusty steel in their like
Yep.
metal shops to try and beat Sasuke. Like, oh, it's so awesome.
Oh my god, yeah. No, I think that yeah, like because you're more older school, you have that yeah, that experience in the past, which allows you to have that view now. But people like just getting into the sport, like it's crazy how many of them don't even know what Sasuke is. Like, what do you think the percentage is of athletes in our gym, for example, don't even know? Well, obviously, we don't, maybe not our gym because we actually tell our kids about Sasuke, but
They
like
still don't know about it
they
though.
still don't know about it.
Bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty low. I mean, I don't know, maybe like 30, 40%. Cause like, okay, like Addie was just on Sasuke, right? And a lot of people are like big fans of Addie and she posted about it. So I'm sure they know about it, but, like, actually, like, understanding it, like, having watched, like, Makoto Nagano's Total Victory or, like, watching Yuji Urishihara or, like, when, Morimoto got the crazy cliffhanger, they have no idea what any of that is. Or even just knowing about Vertical Limit Burst, and, like, how much of a thing getting that was for, Miyaoka and for Morimoto, like, that was insane. Like, I remember when I watched Miyaoka get it, that was nuts because he did that crazy thing with his thumb like, on the top. Oh, it was so cool. I did that the other day in training, and I was like, I felt so cool.
That's so cool.
And that's actually the other thing I wanna kinda touch on too. One thing that kinda makes me sad is that we kinda lost the idea of these, like, big grand obstacles that, like, we're trying to take down. Like, when I started, it was when the Crazy Cliffhanger was, like, new in Japan, and, like, the first, like, 2 years or first year, everyone got annihilated by it. And then the second year, everyone got cooked by it, except by Morimoto, who got it. But he was kind of just like out of nowhere. And like everyone was building the crazy cliffhanger to try and train that obstacle to get it. And like it was so hard. Like I don't think people understand how hard that obstacle was back in the day. And like so I would always see like people building crazy cliffhangers in Japan or in America, people building the ultimate cliffhanger to train on that. And like that was cool. Like I don't know, something about like just having those like kind of standardized obstacles that, like, people would build and try to get. Like, when I was able to do the crazy cliffhanger for the first time, that was, like, an amazing thing for me because I had to work so hard on that obstacle. And I think I've built, like, 5 of them or something, some ridiculous number. And I've built, like, a couple ultimate cliffhangers too. And we don't like have that as much anymore, and that's kind of sad, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. It definitely has changed a lot. It's interesting now because I hear what you're saying, and I definitely agree to some extent, but it's also like with how the sports evolved, it's almost like if like let's say Ultimate Cliffhanger's example, let's say it was at Worlds like this year or something, and then you know people had they see it at Worlds that when the next year it's there again. Like I wonder how the community would respond to that nowadays. You know?
Yeah, it's like interesting because like we did kind of do that where we had the rotating VL two times, and it was pretty mixed reception about that, which I thought was interesting because I think rotating VL is like a fantastic obstacle, like one of the best grip obstacles ever, in my opinion, like easily the best vertical limit version. But people were like, "Oh, you brought that back?" And I thought that was kind of weird, frankly, because I mean, it was a sick obstacle. And also, from a competition running point of view, that obstacle is fantastic. It was so easy to dial that obstacle. And it was always exciting. Like I remember I was sitting up watching with Brett Sims, up in like the WNL staff room, and he was just like watching someone do the VL. And he's like, "Oh, I love vertical limit. It's so dramatic." And like it really is like so exciting. Just like just watching people go across it and they like are like making faces and stuff and like getting more pumped. Like, oh, it's a sick obstacle. But yeah, it was kind of like a mixed reception. So it is interesting. Like, I don't know if we could have those kind of like big or not big, like important obstacles like that anymore, which is kind of unfortunate because it was cool, man.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah, but I guess the other side of that too is that we have so many great obstacles now that like because back in the day it was kind of like, all right, our good obstacles are the salmon ladder, the cliffhanger, and like the warp wall. But now it's like our good obstacles are like so many different obstacles that like you can't really just specialize that much into one obstacle like the cliffhanger. Like you kind of have to be able to do everything. So like, it's a double-edged sword. Like still are great obstacles out there. And it still is like, okay, like the throwback, for example, like being able to do a throwback is like a big achievement. Like I remember a lot of our kids getting the throwback for the first time. We're like pretty excited about it. And whenever we have it up, they're always like working on it at open gym if they haven't gotten it yet. So like there still is that to a degree, which is nice because I mean like throwback's a banger obstacle.
Shout out Brett Sims.
It's my favorite obstacle designer.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. So obviously you're a serious athlete for a long time. You building ninja obstacles has been a part of your life for so long. At what point do you think you transition from being more passionate about building obstacles and designing courses than actually doing it yourself?
Um, ANW 16 when I was sitting there watching stage 4. Because the 14, so like 13 was my first ANW, and I put like a lot of effort into that. But then the ones that I took extremely seriously were 14 and 16. I didn't get on to 15, but I mean that would have been like similar because it was filmed at the same time as 16. But then I don't know, something about just like 16 was so like defeating for me. Like in 14, based off my testing performances, had I made it to Vegas, assuming my test runs were accurate to my actual runs, I would have made it to stage 4. Versus in 16 when I tested, I fell on every course. It was pretty sick. So it was kind of defeating to ultimately be like, wow, I put all this work in and then like I kind of just got worse because I was absolutely worse skill wise in 16 than I was in 14. Like comparing my performance on the cliffhanger, for example, the two times I did the cliffhanger, 14, I cooked that thing. 16, I was going across that thing like, oh my God, it was the hardest obstacle I've ever done. And it was just like so much overtraining and so much pressure on myself that like I kind of ended up like defeating myself. And I remember just sitting there, watching stage 4 and being out. That just like, I don't know, it changed something for me where I was looking at stage 4 and I was like, something just changed in my brain where I was just thinking about these obstacles. And I designed the ricochet actually that was in my NSC at Gravity, like sitting there watching stage 4. And that's where I got that obstacle. And then after that, something just clicked for me where like I can just design obstacles now. Because I remember before I had this thought like, oh, I can't make new obstacles. I never have obstacle ideas. That's for other people. And I made a couple. But then I don't know whatever changed for me watching that stage 4. I just like was able to design obstacles now, and I think it came from getting ready for 14 and 16. I really understood the obstacles. Like, I knew what the paint was, I knew the dimensions. So, like, I had to get a lot better at building to prepare for those comps because I was making very accurate replicas. So I guess all that thinking about obstacles, kinda just put me in the space where, like, okay, I can really think about obstacles now, and whatever changed in my brain made me just, like, really interested in designing obstacles. Like, I had all these ideas that I wanted to do. And then I had the comp at Addie's that year. It was like me and Addie had been doing our comp for a couple years, but, our 3rd one, that was the one that was right after that season of A&W, and, oh, man, I was cooking for that one. I had so many ideas that I was so excited about. And, like, that was the first comp that I made that I thought was actually, like, very good. Like, I'd made a couple before that, and they were, like, fine, but they were kinda whack and, like, out there. This one was just, like, was perfect. We had good women's courses at that one too. That was pretty cool. That was the first time I dialed women's correctly, which is always super important for me. So I don't know, something about that just like made me so much more interested in the course designing because like that is ultimately like how I can make my impact on the sport. Like I love the sport so much. And like my talent is there more so than being an athlete. Like infinite respect to all the athletes, but a lot more people can go out and compete and be incredible competitors than like we don't need me to do that. Like I've done that and there are plenty of people who do that a lot better than me. I'm a lot more useful designing obstacles and making competitions and like that's where I shine.
I think that's such a mature thing to think about and have that view and response, and to have that defeat that you experienced, but instead of giving up and losing interest in the sport, which so many people have sadly done over the years, you're able to use that and then fully 180 and now switch, still stay in the sport that you're so passionate about. I don't think people understand like how passionate about ninja you actually are. Like you are the most passionate person ninja I've ever met in my entire life. And it's amazing, but people don't know that. Like, they're just like the amount of respect you have for all the athletes, for all the obstacles, for the courses, for the entire sport. No one else has that. I think that's what makes you as good as you are with everything that you do in the sport, which is just amazing. We're very honored to have you here on staff. I tell you this all the time, but
Yeah.
um, I think it's fascinating that you took that defeat and you still were able to stay in the sport. So there's a lot we can talk about even with that before we get further into it. I mean, just being able to bounce back from that is just so impressive.
Yeah, thank you. And it's funny, you talk about like my passion for the sport. Like the people really don't know. Like in my room, I have a rug that's stage 4 that I bought from Jake Murray, who at the end of my A&W career was my favorite ninja. I have infinite respect for Jake Murray. Because he was so incredible. The people don't get how good he was by the end of his A&W career. And my first season at A&W, I competed 4 times, 4 times against Jake Murray, lost all 4 times. He was so good. And like preparing for 14, I had made the my assessment was that Jake was the single best A&W competitor at the earlier stages. Not the earlier stage of competition, so like qualifying semis in stage 1. But then he kind of had issues with 2, 3, and 4, or mainly 2, honestly, which I also had. So I kind of related to that. So I ended up studying like so many of his runs to like understand that. And like that, he was the main inspiration for my strategy going into 14, where I was much more interested in getting fastest times and stuff. Cause my thought was like, okay, if I can win and I still have this thought, like me and Jackson, I coach Jackson at a lot of like high level comps, and we always have the strategy of winning every stage of the competition. Um, and like that, and like Jake for me really like showed me how important that was because he was so good. Like if you could execute the runs that he did on stage, like the earlier courses, there's no reason that you couldn't execute a chiller run on the later courses. Was my thought, and he was also just such like a nice guy. Like me just being this kid competing. I remember the first time I met him was at UBW. And I was gonna climb the 100-foot rope. I was out of the competition at that point, but I wanted to climb the rope, and Mike is so nice that he was like, "Oh yeah, of course, babe, you can go climb that rope." And I just had like my normal shoes, but Jake was there, and he actually let me wear his boots to do my rope climb. Because he had been obviously training a lot for rope as well to get ready for A&W. So he had these boots that he thought were like the best for it. So I wore his boots actually and did my rope climb. And that was really cool. Like, he was just like a nice guy and I had so much respect for him. So then like getting ready for 14, I had so much like focus on the rope that I ended up getting this rug made by him. That's stage 4 with the red rope, and I'd see it every day.
That's so awesome. There's so many great ninjas like that who does Jake train anymore? Do you know if he's still
Not
involved?
that I know of. I know that he just did the Dubai Games.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so the thing where they climb the Burj and do all that. He was on the Houston team, I believe. So that's pretty cool. I don't quite know the results. It happened last week while I was setting up for my competition, so I didn't really get to follow it. But I mean, it looks super cool.
Yeah, Dubai Games is yeah, they're sick. I'd be interested in trying maybe one day. But yeah, there's there's so many ninjas like that who had an impact on the sport that unfortunately don't do it anymore. And I wonder why they stop. Like obviously you were able to continue your passion, transition in a new way, but so many ninjas like just fall through the cracks. No one even knows about them anymore. Like to me, like you were saying how Jake was your hero. For me growing up, it was Levi Muhlenberg.
Oh,
Do you
he's
remember Levi?
awesome.
Dude,
Yeah, yeah.
Levi is the sole reason why I got involved with parkour. And, like, obviously, like so for those who don't know, I started with Ninja, love Ninja. I've been doing it for a really long time, but when I first saw Levi, he was, like, a professional stuntman, he was a professional parkour athlete, free runner, and I saw that and I was like, "This is a great way to train for Ninja." And so when I started it, it was just as a cross trainer for Ninja,
Mm,
but then very quickly, like, really fell in love with it more than Ninja, to be honest.
yeah.
And then, like, without him, I would not have discovered parkour, I would not have become who I am today, I think, without watching him.
Yeah, and for sure, like Levi is like cool, and people don't know about him. He was really the first like good American ninja. Like he got last man standing on Sasuke.
Yeah, which is
Like
crazy.
that's really crazy. I can't think of a single. Yeah, like that hasn't really happened. So that's like really cool that he did that.
Yeah, I would say he was, like, the first, like, American Ninja Warrior, like,
Yeah,
star, you know?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was, like, the guy. I remember my first time meeting him was a wild experience. That's a whole 'nother conversation, I guess, but, like, it was the first time I had a migraine for the like, I don't know why,
Yeah.
but I get these really bad migraines. It's called migraine with aura, and so essentially, it's like I'm having a stroke, so, like, I go one numb on one side of my body, I get, like, tunnel vision, can't see, like, I'm like it's bad, and so
Mhm.
my first time having one of those was when I was there for, like, a one of his workshops at Primal Fitness back in the day, and, like, I was doing this workshop. It was awesome, had so much fun, learned so much. He was coaching the whole thing. I think maybe no, that was the second one, but anyway, it was awesome. Then, like, towards the end, I, like, start fumbling my words. I was like I couldn't really talk, like, it was just really weird and awkward, and I thought maybe I'm just nervous or whatever, and then, like, yeah, I, like, threw up the whole ride home back from DC to back home. Like, it was bad, like, it was
Yeah,
a whole
yeah.
mess, but anyway, learned so much from that guy. Endless respect for him, and even someone like that, like, I would say made it to the top at that time. Like he was in movies, like he was a stuntman for Captain America, did all these crazy things, and then doesn't do it anymore. It's like it's so sad to see these people that lose it, you know? Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it has to do with like ninja's a small sport, so it's very not easy, but the top is very accessible. Like you can start ninja and then like kind of just get on the show. And I think for a lot of people that's like more pressure than they were ready for. And the show is like it's a lot of pressure, but it also can be extremely defeating. So I think just like, going on there, not living up to your expectations at like such a high stage, because like, okay, for us, the show is our Olympics pretty much. And like with the Olympics, like it's so exclusive. Not many people can get there. And the people who do get there are kind of ready to be there. Like they've done the world championships, all that, whatever. Versus the show, you can kind of just get on the show. Especially in the older days, like a lot of these people on the show, like it was like their first competition. Um, and I think like I'm personally just kind of the opinion that high level competition isn't for everybody. I mean, me, I hate high level competition. So I think it just can be like tough doing that, frankly. And I think like with some of those people who, aren't in the sport anymore, I'm interested how they would enjoy just doing some like chiller competitions. Cause like, that might still be fun for them, like pulling up to like a WNL tier 2, for example. Like they might love that. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it is that pressure thing, like you're saying, because even Paul Fisher, shout out Paul Fisher, it's our guy. We'll have him on as a guest at some point in the future. But like I think it was last week when you were maybe it was 2 weeks ago? I don't forget what you were maybe setting up for the tier 2, I don't remember when it was, but he came in, he did oh, you no, you were there. He was doing Ninja again,
Yeah, yeah,
and
that
he
was
was
fire.
yeah, because he's mainly been doing chase tag now, but he was doing it, and he's like, "Oh, for how fun this was, is awesome," and, like, you had a great time. And obviously, like, he still wants to focus on chase tag, but, like, he was on the show, loved doing ninja, lost interest, stopped doing it, came back in for the first time, had a great time, loved it, reminded himself why he liked it again. And it's like, I wonder how many people would have that same experience if they just came back and just did it again for fun.
Yeah, I think part of it too is like with ninja, so much of it is tied to like doing the competition. If you do ninja, you do competitions, and like that's fine. I love competitions. Obviously, I've done many of them and I've run many of them. But, like, I think to engage with ninja, you don't necessarily have to do competitions. Like, there are so many people that engage with, like, other sports, like basketball, for example, and they just go out and shoot hoops. Like, I don't do many other sports, but within the past couple of years, I have gone to, like, a public basketball court just to, like, shoot hoops for fun. Like, I like basketball. I'm terrible at it, but I like it. So I can still, like, engage with that sport or rock climbing, which, like, I'm also pretty bad at, but I enjoy from time to time. I can just go to a rock gym and do some rock climbing for fun. I'm never gonna do a rock climbing competition. Um, but like I would like to see like more people see ninja in that way where like, okay, you don't necessarily have to do competitions. Like if you want to, that's awesome. But like you can just do ninja for fun, like without it needing to be, oh, I'm gonna achieve total victory. Like for me, that was kind of like a big switch up. Like for the first 10 years of my ninja career, I was going to achieve total victory. And then after 16, it's just like that wasn't something that I cared about anymore. Like, obviously it'd be cool, but like it wasn't like what I wanted to do anymore. But I still wanted to be a part of Ninja. And like I think that is great. Like, I mean, it's been a lot better for me in the long run. I'm a lot happier. And like I've done more useful things for the sport, frankly. Now that like that isn't my focus anymore.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that's something people really should think about. Yeah, it could just be this fun thing you do. It doesn't have to be this competitive, pressured, high stress situation. It could just be you go just like you're saying, you go to a climbing gym, you do some boulders, you have fun. Like that's what a ninja gym could be for these people. Like for anybody,
Yeah,
really.
exactly, like, that's what it is for me. Like, what's it? I enjoy training with my elite boys, like, so much more than I enjoyed, like, training for A&W, where I'm, like, like, it's so much pressure, like, for a long time for me, actually, it was kinda hard to go train in the barn by myself because, like, I associate it with, like, that, like, really tough time of, like, hard training, and, like, for a while, I would only train in the barn if someone was coming to train, and I would kinda just, like, train with them out of, like, obligation. Um, and I kinda like, for a while, like, that was the only time I really, like, could train. Like, I'd wake up with the intention to train, and then I'd kinda be like, I'll do it later," and then I kinda just wouldn't. Um, because, like, I associate it with that, like, high pressure competitive thing, and even when I would, I'd get frustrated that I was, like, bad. Because like, okay, obviously, I'm out of practice, I haven't been training. But then, like, kinda just looking at ninja doing it more for fun, like, training with my boys, because like, for me now, like, a lot of my interest in maintaining my skill level is so that I can still ideally be better than my boys. Um, because like, I think it's really important to have those people above you who can, like, push you and, like, show what's really, like, possible. Like, for me, when I first started getting, like, properly good, was when I started training with the adults at Gravity, like John Stevens, Matt Strollo, Dan, Sean, uh, Josh. Like, that's when I first started getting good because, like, oh, John, dude, John was so good back
Yeah,
in the
he
day. It made
was.
me
Oh my god.
so mad. Oh, and Julian too. That's who I couldn't place. Because like for there was this point where I was better than everyone except for John. And I had been working on Brett Sims posted this video of him doing the pull up on the board with the grip tape, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I wanted to do that, and I'd been working on it for a couple weeks, and John hadn't been there. And he walked in and did a front lever on the board, and I was so mad because I had just been working on this thing. The John just comes in, and is able to do it. It's like, come on, man.
John Stevens is a
Yeah,
legend,
dude,
man.
John's awesome, man. I'm so glad that, like, I kinda still have my relationship with him, like, being on the rig team, like, that is really cool that that kinda, like, came full circle like
Oh
that.
my god, yeah. Yeah, no, John's a true legend. Yeah, we could probably talk about like yeah, Sasuke and all these old legends for like in the next 2 hours, but I think it's a good way to get into the W now and obviously your work with them and all this kind of stuff. So obviously you've been designing courses now for the W now. You're I guess one of the official course designers, you're on the rig team. How did you first get involved with the rig team and the position you're in now?
So it started with Worlds in it was 3 Worldses ago. So the last 2 were the ones that I designed like officially for. But I actually designed a little bit for the previous one. That was the year that had like the throwbacks in stage 1, the X's at the end of stage 2, and the axes at the end of stage 3. So I submitted some obstacles for that. Like I've known Greg for years, like, because I used to train at center court quite a bit and just coached at Northeast Comp. So I've known Greg for years. And he reached out to a couple designers like me and Sam Folsom, asking us just for obstacle ideas, frankly, because they wanted to just get some more like community input. So I submitted a couple obstacles. The ones that ended up getting in were the dropping triangles in stage 3, the axes in stage 3, and I believe they got the inverter in stage 3 from me as well. I wanted a vertical limit inverter, but that was probably a little too hard. So probably good that they changed that. Um, so yeah, started with that, and then during that competition, it was kind of in that weird in between period for me where I hadn't quite like fully committed to the course design side of things. I definitely was interested in it, but I was still kind of like with the competitive ninja as well. So I was in this weird in between time. And they were setting up for stage 2 with the kaleidoscopes, and were having trouble balancing one of them to get it to auto reset. And I was like, "Hey, Greg, can I try and balance that thing, bro?" And he was like, "Sure, man." So I like hopped the fence. I balanced one of them, and it was a huge pain. Um, and then I was like, "All right, Greg, you want me to do the other ones?" And he was like, "Sure, man." So I ended up being there till like 4 a.m. Balancing 5 other kaleidoscopes. Um, and then it kind of just ended up that like after I did that, I came over, I helped dial stage 2 a little bit. Little too hard, but that's okay. Um, and then yeah, from there, by the end of the and I kind of just ended up helping with the rest of the competition. We had to do that super difficult change out from stage 2 to 3 in the middle of the competition, which that thing was a nightmare. I'm so glad we got rid of that. Um, and like, because I had to do all 6 kaleidoscopes again. So it kind of ended up with that. And then by the end of the comp, they were kind of like, "Well, do you want to just come over to the dark side?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds really cool, man." So then from there, they put me on the Worlds design team. We worked on Worlds for a year, did Worlds, and then from there, I've kind of just been with the league ever since, doing like all the events. So it's cool.
So you kind of showcase your skills, showed them what you could do just by helping out, and then now that's how you kinda got into it all.
Yeah, because it just ended up that when we're actually working the comps, the big things that I do are course dialing and obstacle teching. Just because I've spent so much time trying to understand
Can you
obstacle.
maybe describe what those 2 things are for people that don't know?
Yeah, so course dialing is deciding like how difficult the course actually is, to try and get like the results we're looking for. So WNL, for example, in stage 1, we're looking for 35-ish% of the competitors to get through. And now obviously there was a lot of decisions made there, like, oh, should this lache be this far? Should we have this move in there? And all of that leads into getting the results you need. Like I have missed my dials pretty bad by just making bad decisions about the course. Um, so that's an important thing, and that's really tough. And then the other thing is obstacle teching. A lot of obstacles over the years have become much more complicated and have mechanical parts, or even just need little like physics things, like how they balance. And for whatever reason, that just makes like a lot of sense to me.
I think it makes sense. I mean, you've been doing it for so long with your dad.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've always been trying to make obstacles work. Like me and my dad have built like a motorized cliffhanger. Like we built some pretty crazy stuff. And like I'm from a family of engineers. My dad was an engineer. My grandfather on my mom's side was an engineer. He worked on the first computer, actually.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. My grandfather was crazy. And then my dad worked on video on demand when that came out. So like I do have quite the engineering pedigree. So that helps too, where it's just like a lot of times the obstacle physics just are very intuitive to me, and I'm lucky that it is that way. But yeah, so like working on a kaleidoscope is pretty difficult. So it just ended up being that there was that perfect storm of there's a really difficult obstacle that needs to get teched, and it was faster for me to just do all of them than explain to someone else how to do it. And then I guess that showed to the league that like, oh man, this guy can like help us and make these obstacles.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't think people understand, like, the WNL is kind of understaffed, I would
Oh
say.
my god, you have no idea.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, like, but I'd imagine, like, there's only a few people that run everything, like, so you stepping in to help, like without people like you, these events wouldn't be as successful. And people always have negative things to say or they'll judge or like make these silly comments, but they understand that like how overworked the WNL staff actually is. And so when there's someone like you who's talented, skilled, knows ninja, is passionate about it, that comes in and wants to help them, like I think that's awesome. And people like take that and they're like, they make these crazy things up in their minds that just aren't true, which we're gonna get into, I'd imagine. But the point is like without people like you, these events wouldn't be successful. But
Yeah,
the
thank you. And it's tough too because like going into like how understaffed the WNL is. The year I came in to work on the Kaleidoscopes, Greg was in charge of the courses, and like Greg does like does so much stuff at the WNL. So like I remember all night like I'd have to like go find him because he was like go off doing something else, putting out some fire. Like the poor man like walked around the venue for like 6 straight hours doing different things that night, and it was all night. Like it was really tough. So I think him just being able to offload some of those obstacle things onto me, and now Nick Fordney as well, who's like, you know, our big 3 course guys are me, Nick, and Greg. And it's good too because we kind of all have our different strengths. Like Greg is good at that like high level management. I'm good at that like fine detail obstacle stuff. And then Nick is good at the rules as well as being like a good manager for the riggers. Because a lot of times what happens is like I'm a rig manager, but a lot of times I have to go like deal with something that's pretty like finicky, like whether it be like a kaleidoscope or just making an obstacle work. So I can't kind of give my attention to the other riggers. So like that's when it's super helpful to have Nick, who's just like a better leader than I am in general, who can just like manage all the guys and keep that all moving. So it ends up being a really good team.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. So, what is the process for setting up for an event like this? So, when do you get there? You know, how many hours are you working at a time? Like, maybe tell people just a little bit of like what it's like to actually rig an event like Worlds.
Yeah, so for Worlds, we get in with the old schedule where the comp would start on Friday. Um Opening ceremony on Thursday, comp starts Friday. We would get in on Sunday in the afternoon because you know we all have to travel and whatever. We wait for the trucks, and then our goal for that first day is to offload the silver truss off and get all 3 silver trusses up. So we do that. That takes like 4 or 5 hours, something like that. Then we go home or we go back to the hotel. And then for the rest of the days leading up to the comp, all the riggers are working 13-hour days, trying to put up all the obstacles.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah, so it's a thing, but it's a lot of fun. We all really enjoy it. Like, you know, it is hard work, but like it's a really great time. Like I love all the other guys. We have so much fun. And like it's a great time. So yeah, but we come in, we put the truss up, we're using like scissor lifts and forklifts and all that. I'm really competitive, so I try and get my truss up first. And then once that happens, we start putting all the bars up. We have like a big model that we rig all the courses from, that like me and Greg and Nick have been working on for a year at that point. So we'll print out pictures of the model, the guys get going, putting bars up. We put up the obstacles. Our goal is to just get the obstacles in the air, and then I go back and like style the course, which is where like I kind of go through and do like the fine tuning, like, oh, this flying bar cradle needs to be here at this angle, this height, all that. Um, so I go through and do all that, and we do the carpeting and the matting. Then we go through and do all the other thing too about Worlds is aside from the courses, there's a lot of other setup that like happens. Like for example, putting out the bike racks around all the courses takes forever.
Oh, I can't even
Um,
imagine. Yeah.
so we have a bunch of people come in and do that and all the signs, setting up the tables, setting up the Ninja Works. Ninja Works works so hard during the WNL event, and they are kind of like the unsung heroes. Like Carl is there like all night, like every night, making sure like the various things for the comp work, and he like does not get enough credit. Like Carl is awesome, man.
Shout out Carl Ninja Works. Ninja Works is the
Real.
goated system.
Yeah, like there have been so many nights where I was there at 2 a.m. and the only other person there was Carl. Just off doing some Ninja Works thing I don't understand. But yeah, and then it ends up like we get to the end, we do our once we have our final first set of the course. So usually that is, or the past couple of years that's been adult female and mature kids female. We bring in our course testers, do some testing, and then do rules videos, and then that finishes usually right before the opening ceremony. So then we all go and rest. Finally.
I mean, everything you just said, the way you laid it out seems simple, but it's so nuanced. There's so many difficulties, challenges. Like it's a freaking endeavor. It's a mission to get this thing ready.
Yeah.
Like, it's absurd. People don't get it. I mean, if I was like, let's listen to this, people are like, oh, that doesn't seem too bad. But like, they don't understand it. The 13-hour days, the literal blood, sweat, and tears, and who knows other fluids you guys are letting out on there.
Yeah, that's
Especially
the
growing.
thing too. Rigging is physically pretty difficult. Like the bars are heavy, man.
Everything's heavy. The obstacles are heavy. You gotta like
Dude.
put all the rigging in place. Then once it's in place, then you have to actually like you're saying, tech the obstacles, make sure they function properly, make sure they're scaled right. Like it is a huge process that takes so much time.
Yeah, it really is because, like, we have this plan for the course, but like, I no plan survives first contact with the enemy being me. So like, I put the course, I'm like, wow, that's way too hard, or that's in the wrong spot. So I end up like changing like a lot of the obstacles from what our actual plan was. Like, New England regionals, we switched two whole obstacles. We had the breakaway cliffs and the standing ovations. Originally the standing ovations were the last obstacle. And then the breakaway cliffs were like seventh obstacle or something. But those were way harder than the standing ovation. Like I put those things up, I was like, dang, Greg, these things are crazy, bro. So we ended up flipping them, and I think that was a good decision actually, because breakaway was like a new product, so it was cool to kind of show that off at the end. My boy Ben Scraley designed that. He's gonna be a big designer in the next couple of years. So follow him for sure. His TNA is next weekend, so that'll be cool.
That's dope.
Um, but yeah, no, like it is crazy, and like a lot of times, like you'll get the obstacles and they'll have like problems. Like I don't know, like I've so many times I've had to do all these weird fixes to the obstacles, just like screw a counterweight here, go inside this, screw this part on, move this bolt around. Like it is a lot less simple than you would think. Like each obstacle does require like a lot of attention.
Yeah. I mean, people I feel like will say things because specifically about you working for the WNL because obviously you're a coach here. You've been coaching here since when did you start coaching here?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
2021.
you've been whatever. But people will say things about that. They're like, "Oh, we coaches there, blah blah blah," and they'll say these things. And again, we'll get more into it. But like, would the community rather have some random person who doesn't understand ninja, doesn't understand how obstacles work, doesn't understand how people actually perform on the obstacles, do these things? Like, I don't think they understand. Like, without again, people like you, these events aren't going to run as smooth. The obstacles aren't going to be as cool. The courses aren't going to be as good. The dialing's going to suck. Like, what are they? You know what I mean? Like, you can't
Yeah.
have both things. And it's like, I think because you work at a gym, you know more about what the kids are capable of, how long it takes them to get some of the obstacles, what their mental state is. Like you understand how to actually like make things work for these events.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you talked about the kids, and kids is tough for sure. I think kids is actually a bit easier to dial. I think like by advantage of me being a coach, I get to work with people of all skill levels and ages. And since
Exactly.
WNL is
Exactly.
like 6 to however old, like our oldest division being masters at 40, actually working with masters and kids like lets me get every division right. Like not to toot my own horn, but my worlds was the first one where every division finished in stage 3. And I think like without um working with masters and kids and young adults and all that, that would have been like a much taller order, because setting for adults is a lot different than setting for kids.
Yep.
Like literally, like the mats are like a dialing feature of a master's course. Like you can not touch the obstacle at all and add another mat to it, and you'll increase your clear rate on that obstacle by 20%.
Yeah, that's true. It's crazy to
So
think
like
too.
that's the kind of thing that like you don't understand as much if you don't like work with people so much. Because also like coaching is like dialing practice. Dialing is really difficult, and I had to practice a lot to understand it. But coaching is like essentially like how you stay in practice with that, right? Like if I'm gonna put a kid on an obstacle, I mean, I'm gonna adjust said obstacle so it's at least reasonable for them to get it, right? And just like even having the understanding, like, oh, I probably shouldn't put this kid on this obstacle. They're probably not quite ready for this one. Like, that helps you understand, like, okay, what would actually be appropriate to put in like worlds, or say it is an obstacle that is more advanced. Like, okay, maybe where we position that obstacle, like, flying bar probably wouldn't be a great stage 1 second obstacle, but it works totally fine as like last obstacle of stage 3, where those more advanced athletes that are going to be comfortable with it are.
Yeah. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So teching, scaling, all these things, super, super important, obviously for worlds, but maybe because the level at which you're performing those things nowadays, what are some pieces of advice that you would maybe give to new course designers or seasoned course designers who have trouble with that kind of thing? What would you say to them?
Okay, so I have a couple things. I think the most important thing is to realize that, like, okay, the course is like your big art project, but what's more important than your art project is the competition itself. Like, when I started course designing, I would say to myself, like, results, results, results. I am like very firmly of the opinion that the results are the most important part of a competition because ultimately we are trying to sell this event to the competitors, to viewers, and competitions with bad results just aren't that exciting, frankly. They're not very fun, bad vibes all around. And it's just not exciting to watch if everyone's failing the second obstacle. Like, all right, cool obstacle, great. Everyone's failing it. The people who are new to the sport and don't understand how cool the obstacle is, they don't care because all they know is they just got like wrecked by this obstacle that shouldn't have been in their course. So like it being cool like doesn't really matter. So I think like you kind of have to learn to set like your ego aside a little bit and be like, all right, this was a great idea. I love this, but it's more important that I actually like dial my course correctly because the only person disappointed by taking out the obstacle is me. But if I ruin my results, then everyone is disappointed. And ultimately, like that's more important. Like a lot of my worst dialing mistakes have been where I let my ego get in the way and like where I am too in love with my own ideas and I keep those in the course despite like my better judgment and like caring more about like making this incredible like progressive artistic course rather than just making a good competition. So I think like being like sacrificing like I'll sacrifice anything for the competition even if it's my favorite obstacle because ultimately that's like what's important. Is my main thought on that. I had another thought, but I forgot it because I was so passionately thinking about that. Oh, I know what it is. Difficulty. I love a good hard course. But I think that people are so concerned with their course being hard that they prioritize that over their results. Like very few people are gonna come off a course that's like easy and be like, "Oh, that course was too easy." Like, the people who say that are the loudest voices, who are, like, the good competitors, but, like, the less skilled competitors who are, newer are gonna be like, "Oh, man, I did so well on that course," and they're in a great mood. So I think that's important, and, like, it is fine to have clears on your course. Like, I was talking to, Milo Carpenter, who's, like, a young, course designer at Gravity, and, like, she was, like, very scared of having clears in her 1 division, but then she was like, "Okay, well, it's more important that I have some clears," and it ended up being like, "Wow, that was a good idea," and I remember for me, like, the comp that I really, like, kinda understood that at was at, Ninja Fem, down in Florida when I worked that at Obstacle Ninja Academy with Megan. Um, with Ninja Fem, like, a lot of the goal was to kinda, like, uplift the girls and, like, let them experience that success that, frankly, they've been, like, robbed of in the other comps that just weren't designed for them. So that was the first time where I really was having, like, a lot of clears, and it was great, like, it was better vibes than, like, the WNLs I'd made where it was, like, 6-minute long course, no clears, last 4 obstacles unattempted. Like, that ended up just being so much better, everyone was happier, and I was happier, frankly. So, like, I think difficulty is important, it does make obstacles more interesting to run, but having appropriate difficulty is what's most important. Um, like, having higher difficulty is not a quality marker of your course. I would say difficulty being too high is a strike against your course. What's important is having the right amount of difficulty that will create a good fail distribution and push the athletes to create, like, drama. But, like, if you push your difficulty too hard, then, like, it kinda defeats the purpose of all the obstacles. Like, what's the point in having a great last obstacle if no one gets there because the rest of your course is too hard? Or
Yeah.
frankly, like, if no one even gets close on it, like, that's just not interesting. Like, the parent sitting over there who just drove their kid 4 hours and dropped, like, 75 bucks on the comp isn't gonna care about, like, your cool new bar tech. They're gonna care about how their kid did. If their kid got crushed, they're gonna be a lot less happy than, like, if, they did well. And, like, that's not to say that I don't value, like, cool new obstacles or, like, difficult obstacles. But I think, like, if you are a good course designer, you can make good obstacles that are easy or good obstacles that are fair. Like one of my favorite obstacles I ever designed was the sword. We had it at Worlds. It was in stage one. Like I was pleased with that one because a lot of times when you make a new obstacle, it's really hard just because like it's a new technique, or just various reasons. But with the sword, like I put it up and I did it and it was so easy. And I was like, this is awesome. Because it's a cool obstacle and easiness. Like people like difficulty is kind of like, oh, my course is so hard. That's cool. But easiness is utility, right? The easier a cooler obstacle is, the more you can use that obstacle. Um, because I think most people would agree that getting a cool final obstacle is relatively easy compared to getting a cool early obstacle. Like back in the day, people would talk about filler obstacles. Like I don't believe in that concept. That just sounds like lazy to me. I think there are just like obstacles that are cruxes and then obstacles that have function. And like making a cool like function obstacle where like the sword, for example, which isn't necessarily that hard, but like has the function of testing the athlete psychologically because it's a bit scary. It gets their heart rate up, so that'll affect the rest of their course run. It is also a bit pumpy because of the pull out and absorption. There's a lot of over gripping on that obstacle. So while that obstacle may not like have that many fails or be that much of a crux, it's a good function obstacle that will result in more interesting results later in the course while still being like a cool, like dynamic, interesting obstacle. So that's something I really value. Whenever I make a new obstacle and it's kind of light, I'm like more pleased with that than the obstacles that are like way too hard. Because frankly, I need to be able to come up with obstacles that are useful. So like, when I get those, they're way more useful for me than like my impossible obstacle that would only work in an NSC hybrid.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think like a lot of it also is balance, right? Like if the course is too easy, then people aren't gonna be they're not gonna be challenged. They're maybe not gonna have a good time. They're gonna like I use the example. There's comps like back in the day where people would spend $75. They go to a course and do like a 35-second speed run, and then they wouldn't have redemption time, and they would go there and be like, well, what did I get out of doing this comp? Nothing. Like I think when you are challenged, it does lead to more growth and development as an athlete. But you're right. Yeah, if things are too hard and they're not getting past the fifth obstacle and everyone's failing, it's a race to the fifth obstacle. It's yeah, like you're saying, it's not exciting, it's not fun, like it's not a good comp for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And like again, like I think difficulty is fantastic, but it always has to be reasonable. Like what's the point in having a difficult course if it's just not possible? Like the value in difficulty is that you can rise to the occasion and overcome it. Not that it is just hard in itself,
Yeah,
if
like
that makes sense.
impossible or
Yeah,
even,
like difficulty itself isn't valuable, it's the results of it, which are like people rising to the occasion or creating like dramatic
yeah, I
results.
think that's a great point. I think that's very, very, very true. I mean, as a course designer, I mean, I know I'm speaking for myself here, but I feel like we all do make mistakes though. That's normal.
Oh,
Like,
dude,
do you
yeah.
remember the one course where we designed together and we had like all these big name elites, like Jay was down and you're good, and Luke was down. Like, we made this awesome course. It was the first time we had the side flips in a course, and
Yeah,
then
banger
everyone failed the
obstacle.
padlock, and we're like,
Dude, everyone failed
no.
the side flips. So Jay failed the padlock, but
Oh yeah,
everyone else failed the side flips. And
yep.
like, oh my God, that was so silly. That should have been the last obstacle, frankly.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, course designers do make mistakes for sure. Like, it's just normal. Especially like I feel like a lot of times the mistake will come from like you see these really good athletes come into your comp, and you're like, oh, surely this person can do this obstacle. It's fine. Because then like you as the tester of the obstacle or builder of the obstacle will be like, oh, I got it easily. They'll get it. Then like you got to also think that like it's their first time on the obstacle. They have the nerves going. They're pumped. Like you got to
Just
consider those
traveled.
factors. They just traveled. Yeah, like I feel like when you're designing a course, part of the difficulty also comes down to understanding how it feels to compete at a high level on that day.
Yeah, for sure. Like the way I look at it, like is I've made a lot of mistakes, most of which are making my course too hard. And I feel like throughout my entire career, there's only been like two times where I ever was like, oh man, I made that course too easy. Because I feel like especially if you are coming from like being a higher level ninja, or if you're like most people kind of learn to set elite first. So they're used to making these difficult elite courses, and then they go into youth courses or tier two with that kind of same mindset. But like very rarely has the right decision in a course style, for me at least, been to make the course easier. Or sorry, harder. I think like there's only been a couple times where I was like, oh man, I really should have made that course harder. And the vast majority of my mistakes have been from making the course too hard. And a lot of that difficulty has come from trying too hard to force moves through the setting. Like the side flip example that we brought up. a lot of people were able to do the sideways throwback move, but then failed the 12-foot dismount that I had to make sure that people couldn't skip.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole conversation in itself, forced moves, which we can get into in a second. But I guess could continue with like good course design thoughts and things and what's good advice for people. Yeah, I think all the things you just said are beyond perfect. But I think one thing too people don't understand is like the I don't want to say aesthetic. What's the word that you always use where it's like the gradual buildup of the obstacles, you know what I mean?
Oh, well, okay, so I'm pretty like math brained. So I think of my fail distribution in terms of like an exponential curve. Like if you do an exponential function in math, what that looks like. That's kind of how I think about how I want my fail distribution to be. So like the typical wisdom is that like, oh, you should have someone fail every obstacle distribution throughout the course. I'm not big on that personally. I prefer to kind of cluster everyone to the back half and then kind of not quite cut them in half on each obstacle, but like, you know, have more fails on the later obstacles, like basically no fails at the beginning because I want everyone to do well, or I want everyone to leave feeling like they did well. That was one of the things that I kind of like learned. Like the first comp where I went into it, like, okay, I want everyone to feel like they did well was one of the first comps where I was actually really enjoying watching the competition because everyone was just like having fun. Like, frankly, like that's cool, man. And like, I don't know. Like making like things like making the third obstacle super hard always like make me mad because it's like we don't need to do that, man. Just let the kids do the later obstacles.
Yeah, I agree. I 100%
Especially
agree.
with the kids, man. Like I don't know. Like I think we should always be getting the kids to like the end
Yeah,
because
I
they're
think
just kids, bro.
yeah, I think that's the way I think about it too is like yeah, the first maybe 1 to 5, maybe 1 to 6, whatever, are like very doable. The way I like to think about it though is like to make those obstacles have a little bit of nuance to them. So yes, they're easy, yes, they're fun to do, but also like if you do them wrong, you're not inefficient, it's going to penalize you later on in the course,
Yeah, for
whether for
sure. Like
time or strength, whatever.
no, for sure. Because, like, okay, say you make a first couple obstacles that are all super easy, your best athletes are still going to perform better on those obstacles and
Totally.
approach them with a better approach. So I would much rather make like a more like an interesting beginning section of the course that isn't necessarily very difficult in terms of failing you, but maybe is technical in the sense of you have to like understand how to do the obstacle. So what's it? This tier 2 course I made the other day. The fourth obstacle were these guitar picks and they had on them, there was a hole, they would go through a bar, you would slide them, and they had a keyed slot that could line up to a clamp, so you could turn them and kinda slide over, and I thought that was a really cool obstacle because you could tell who really, like, thought about the obstacle versus the ones who are just like, "Oh, I'm gonna go up there and slide it." Because they would get up there, they'd turn it the wrong way, and I'd be, like, looking at it like, "What are you doing, man?" But then those people who did poorly on that obstacle statistically would do worse on the later obstacles because they spent more time hanging on this thing. So I always think that's like interesting where like you don't necessarily you still get the difficulty is more in just executing the obstacle correctly, but then the actual consequences of that apply later, which I think is more interesting because that gets people more into their run. I also would say like okay, say for that example, I think it's always like a fun experience to kind of mess up an early obstacle and then you're kind of pumped for the rest of your run. Like that's kind of fire.
It
Like
I oh, yeah, no, exactly. So, like, thinking through those details, like, okay, well, if they do this one inefficiently, they're gonna get more pumped, they're gonna waste time, it's gonna cause these consequences in the further down the run, which I think is important to think about as a course designer. Like,
yeah,
what
for sure.
like, yeah, like, just those minute details maybe people don't think about at all, to be frank. Um, I'm trying to think, what are some other big mistakes you think that course designers make often?
Not looking at the list of competitors.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's super important, especially if you're setting a relatively small competition. Like kinda the conventional wisdom was just having like this idea of like, oh yeah, this is a mature kid, so I'm gonna make the course for this like hypothetical mature kid. But like that's kind of silly. Like, first of all, you're probably wrong about what that hypothetical like average mature kid is like. And it also that's just one person, and I think the single most important thing to remember is that you are setting for everyone in the competition.
100%, yeah.
I feel like a lot of times people will be like, "Oh, Jackson Erdos is coming. I need to make this super difficult course all the way through to push Jackson." That's so silly. Like, he is say you have 50 competitors. Jackson is 2% of your competitive field. And like I think making obstacles that are interesting, the majority of the course being interesting for the other 98% is infinitely more important than pushing that one person. And it's still easy to like push them. You just make your last obstacle hard. right? Like, you don't need to apply that everywhere. Like, I'm very big on difficulty spikes where I can, have like a less challenge or a lower fail rate beginning to my course. So I get everyone to like the seventh obstacle or whatever, and then have a huge spike where I can cut down a lot of the people, who aren't, who are still like working on their skills, right? Like, start failing people there. And then the course becomes a lot tougher and more interesting for those more skilled competitors. Because like people like doing obstacles. Like if the beginning of the course isn't like necessarily like super high fail rate, that's like okay. Like people like doing obstacles. Like even if they don't almost fail the obstacle, they're like, oh, that was a good one, man.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause they're having fun. That's like the most important part. I mean, yeah, I think of it the same way. Yeah, trying to gradually increase the difficulty and then getting essentially having a point in the course where it's like, okay, I want everyone to get to here without failing. Obviously, there's exceptions to those rules. Sometimes people just make mistakes or they.
Dude, people suck at competing.
Yeah, competing's hard, man. We talked about
It's
that earlier.
so hard.
Competing is so hard. I'll never forget. I think I talked to you about this in the past, but I'm gonna tell a story again because it's the first time people have heard it on the podcast. There was one comp at center court. It was like years and years ago. It was an elite comp, and there were so many big name ninjas athletes there. Like Vance Walker was there. You were there.
I won that comp.
You did win that comp. Yeah, huge, huge names. And I think it was like the fourth, maybe third
The
obstacle.
fourth.
Fourth obstacle was like this sonic curve line. Like basically, like a bunch of quad steps. You ran around the corner. You got done. Okay. Lo and behold, every single elite competitor, with the exception of like maybe three or four, failed the sonic curve, the fourth obstacle. It's like, what is happening? And then
That thing was hard. I barely got that
I
thing,
don't
bro.
understand because nobody trains that stuff. Everyone just does laches and grip. But like, I was so confused because me, not even training elite to this at this point, I did that obstacle on literally one leg, like just ghost stepped it, like 1 foot, hopped on one leg the whole way through.
Dude, that obstacle was so hard. Like,
Bro,
trust.
it's not hard.
I barely got that thing.
Yeah, I was like, why is everyone
Like,
failing
after
here?
I got that thing, the course became so much dramatically easier.
I think one thing that happens, and maybe this is an advice for course designers, or probably not, just in general. I feel like sometimes there's a mind virus that spawns in as an
Yeah.
athlete, where it's like when you see one really good ninja fall somewhere, you're like, oh my god, so and so fell here. I gotta maybe it's harder than I thought, and you get in your own head, and then you lose that confidence, which you were circling back to, we were talking about earlier. It's like you get in your own head, you're not confident, and that's why you fall. But you got to remember as an athlete, like not everybody is you. Not everybody's that person. Like everyone's different. Everyone has their own skill set. Just because one person fails an obstacle doesn't mean you're gonna fail that obstacle. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe that's not their strength. Like you can't get in your own head when somebody falls an obstacle that you and like just get all nervous and crazy about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like, that was like an important thing for me to learn when I was competing. Like, they are not me. Like I would watch someone good fall on something, I'd be like, oh no, I'm gonna fall on that. But then I'll realize like, oh no, they're not me. And like for all you know, they're like sick or slept really poorly
Exactly. Yeah.
or like, you know, 100 different reasons that they may not have been at their best on that day. And like that doesn't necessarily apply to you. Like, so like just because someone like falls, that doesn't mean that you are gonna fail in that obstacle, even if that's someone who is like better than you, right? Like I have beaten people that are better than me plenty of times by just getting an obstacle. So
Yeah, I think that makes ninja special too. Is like anyone can fall anywhere. Like it doesn't matter who it is. Like people can fall, and that's what makes ninja hard. And you can't get all down yourself because you watch your favorite ninja or this person you think is so good, like to fall in front of you. Like, just that's part of the sport. You got to be able to stay strong in those moments and power through them.
yeah,
But I
for
guess like
sure.
as a course designer, maybe like I think one mistake I have noticed is that let's say an obstacle becomes way harder than you think, they'll like over adjust almost.
Are
Like
you hyper correct? Yeah.
yeah, like I think it's good to make adjustments. Like maybe you had a plan. Let's make it up an example. Like maybe you had a plan for an obstacle, and then you were like, oh, like you saw these people fall on it, so then you're like, okay, I'm gonna change it to this, and you change your plan, and you kind of like lose that confidence in yourself, and then you make a change that just overcorrects in the opposite direction, and then it leads to like maybe not as great results as you would have hoped if you just stayed to
Yeah.
your plan. Another thing that I personally made a mistake, our most last tier one comp was I had this idea for we had the drum hopper. If you guys know what the drum hopper is, you kind of have your hands by your sides and you like hop them. So it's a little different. People are used to be a really common obstacle. Has been on stage three. Wasn't that World? It was at Worlds
It was
too.
at Worlds and Skills
Skills, yeah, yep. And
3
it
worlds ago.
yep, it was at Skills. It's been in many courses. That's on stage three in Sasuke. Whatever. Anyway, in Redemption Time, one of the kids in the kids division did this move and made it look easy. Like he was like he crushed it. Made it
That
look
kid is
so
very
easy.
good though, I
He's
will
very
say.
good. Yeah, very good. And we had a lot of good athletes in that mature kids wave, so he crushed it first try, made it look easy. I didn't even ask him to do it; he just did it. So I was like, "Oh, surely the other mature kid or the mature kids will be able to get it." Boy, was I wrong. That was such a mistake. I should have stuck to my guns, did my initial plan. It would have been fine. But instead, I just like did not do that. Made this obstacle harder, and like everyone failed that obstacle. Then I'm like, man, this that was a mistake. That was so stupid. but then, but then, like in redemption time, everyone got it. It was fine. That's how Ninja is. Like sometimes people just make mistakes. It's okay. But for me as the course, I definitely took it a little harder myself because I knew that I could avoid that if I just like stayed true to my plan. You know?
Yeah, and that's like tough too. Like dealing with testers is really tough. Because sometimes your testers will just like kind of suck, frankly. Like they'll like same thing. Like, people don't always perform consistently in competition. So sometimes your testers will perform really poorly too. Like I was testing for NSC finals 2 years ago, and oh my God, I was horrible. I had been in the it's like a 7 hour drive for me to go to North Carolina. It was at Rock Solid. So I like got out of the car. I got dropped off by my friends. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm gonna go test for a little bit. I'll be back. I ran the hybrid course. I was on that thing for 6.5
Oh my
minutes.
god.
Yeah, it was horrible. I felt like everything. It was so bad. And then I demoed the burnout, and I felt like I would get an obstacle and come down. Like I ran it like a course instead of a burnout. So the rules video was pretty funny because it's me like with like 50 cuts. Like, and but then like the course style ended up being like fine. So like you have to be careful with your testers. And this is not advice, but I would say as you get more skilled with your course designing, you can test less.
Oh yeah.
I barely use testers. I actually find testers like kind of unhelpful a lot of the time. Um, because I think the most important thing is like I was talking about having that like mental model of that like ideal mature kid. You do need to have something similar to that, but I think what's more important is having multiple mental models of your competitors. So okay, for example, I have a great mental model of Jackson Erdos. I've coached him since he was like 9. But then I also have a really solid mental model of like my master's tier 2, for example, because I coach them, right? And having like, say I'm sitting in elite wave, right? And my competitors vary pretty wildly in skill level. My mental model, if I only have a model of Jackson, then that's not helpful because that doesn't tell me about the rest of the competition. So having like having a good understanding of maybe who your least skilled competitor is equally important to having the understanding of who your strongest competitor is, because like then those two parameters can kind of set for you what the course like should be. Because like, all right, I'm going in, I want my least skilled competitor to get this far, so that tells me about the beginning of my course. And then I want Jackson to be challenged at the end, so that tells me about my ending, right? That like kind of fills in the blanks on a lot of the course. Whereas like if I was only going off of Jackson, then what my earlier obstacle should be is a lot more hazy. Because then like I can kind of just put up wherever and he'll probably get it. Versus like if I have someone who, maybe is a bit newer, or like I know they're like coming off an injury or something and I still want them to do well, then that kind of like sets like, okay, this obstacle should probably be about this hard so that they like get through it. But then it's still that Jackson has to do it well.
You're so good. Yeah, maybe like
Okay.
twist it like down towards you a
There we
little
go.
more. No, it was good. If you twist it like towards you, it's probably better.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is where it like goes.
Yeah, yeah. It's just because it uses to pull it up, like just because. Sorry, people. Oh no, no, sorry. Like, yeah, like just twist it. I mean, if it goes
It's
back,
cutting out now.
it
Oh,
is.
there we go. Okay.
You need to be
Um,
closer to it.
yeah, so anyway, whatever I was saying, like
Sorry,
thinking
sorry,
about
people.
like
Technical difficulties.
yeah, yeah. I think what's really important is to kind of ideally understand your competitors as much as possible. And even say, okay, like I've set some pretty big waves. Like I've set for worlds, like there was like I've set like for 400 competitor competitions, but still knowing like, okay, I know this 6 to 8 that's new, like so based off that kid, I should probably make the beginning of the course like this. And I also, I mean, I know the current world champion, so I know what the top of the course should look like. I find that really helpful. Like my goal is always to set for everybody, because like I think what's beautiful about Ninja is that like it's a sport that like in its like truest form is like good for everyone, right? Like because ninja is like infinitely like plastic and adjustable, you can make a course that is an appropriate like I can make a course that is the same relative difficulty for my mom who doesn't do ninja at all as a course for Jackson would be or for myself. And I think that's really cool because that means that like everyone can enjoy and engage with ninja in a way that's fun for them at like any level. And I think like that is why I believe 100% that ninja is the best sport in the world because like anyone can engage with it. Like one of my favorite comps I ever did was this parent comp, where all the parents from our gym came in and my mom came in and my mom is like the worst ninja I've ever seen. Um, anyway, lovely woman, probably the worst ninja I've ever seen. Um, and
Sorry, Jane.
she'll agree with me. Love you, mom. And then she comes in and like, she still like did fine because like, I made a course that was like, appropriate because like, she didn't get first. But like, she still did okay. She got 7 out of 10 obstacles and like everyone had a great time. Like, I've probably never been to a comp actually where people were having so much fun because the parents were going and the kids were trying to coach them and doing a terrible job. Like, what's it? Owen Alzheimer coached my mom because obviously I was reffing, so I couldn't coach her, and he was just like, "Yeah, swing bigger." And it was so it was pretty funny, but, like, like, these people, like, have never done ninja, and they're running this course, and, like, they're having a great time because it's just fun,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it's supposed to be fun. I think that's a huge, huge part. I had a whole conversation about this with Megan on the last podcast about that's the most important thing in ninjas is to have fun. And I think you as a course designer need to keep that in mind when you're making these courses. Is like, what is going to be the most fun for the athletes? How are you going to challenge them appropriately? Make it like you're saying, so everyone can do it. And I think those are important pillars to consider when you're designing your courses. So
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think, like, say I'm setting like a WNL. I think that like the course that will be the most fun for the most competitors is always my goal. And if that's a 10 obstacle course, realistically, that's probably going to be a course where the beginning is low fail distribution. Most people get to at least obstacle like 6, 7, something like that. Then they kind of get then they kind of start getting knocked off from there. And then there's maybe like 1, 2 clears, something like that. Like those courses that have turned out that way for me have been the ones that were like, most fun for the athletes, it seemed, but also, frankly, the most fun for me to watch and for the competitors. Because, like, okay, a lot of times people are like, oh, I want either one clear or no clears. Nah, more clears is fire, bro. Because I've had the situation where someone cleared and then the last runner goes up, and not only do they have to clear faster. And it's so dramatic when they're like either they do it or they fail to do it is just so entertaining. Like I would much rather have that than just like okay, if there is one clear, a last runner single clear is pretty fire, I'll be
that is
honest.
sick when that
But I
happens.
will
Yeah.
say the single clears are more exciting when a lot of people get to the last obstacle and then there's the one person who breaks through. Like the core styles that kind of suck are the ones where it's like everyone fails the fifth obstacle and then there's one clear.
Yeah, because then it also turns down to like a speed course for second, third, maybe even first. They just rush to this obstacle, and it kind of like it just takes away the whole point of making the course in the first place. You have all these sick obstacles like 8, 9, and 10, and like everyone does it just fails before that doesn't even matter. It's just so
Yeah, it's
dumb.
ridiculous, and then it doesn't even you need to give context to your audience, right? Like, say I have this super hard vertical limit as my last obstacle, and only one person gets there, and they get it. That doesn't really tell you how difficult that obstacle is. Especially, like, if you're a new viewer and you don't really, like, understand the obstacles at all. You're like, "Oh, man, he just went like this." Whereas, like, if you get p it's important to get people to the obstacles to build them up. Like building up the obstacle with all of the fails is like important, frankly. So the viewer has context. And then also like it is like more exciting, frankly, when someone finally does get it.
Yep.
Like those have always been some of the most like exciting moments for me at competitions, like when someone finally breaks through on that obstacle. Cause like it's just like triumphant. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, so what makes Ninja so special is that moment when someone finally beats that thing that no one else could, or does this amazing hard obstacle. Yeah, it's super important. I think it's interesting that you bring up like, yeah, essentially making the course thinking about how it's going to look like from a spectator standpoint, which I don't think many course designers think about at all. Like it's hard because most times you're so stressed out, you're they like you're you're up all night setting up this course the night before your comp. You're stressed. You're making these changes, and you make mistakes. You forget, but the last thing you think about is like, how is this course going to look from like an outside perspective?
Yeah, and I think like that's something that like we really do need to think about because like okay, ultimately we are trying to make this like a big thing, right? Like we want Ninja in the Olympics, but like no one's going to watch Ninja in the Olympics if it like isn't interesting to watch. So it is better for everyone involved in the sport if that is something we think about, because then it makes it easier to get Ninja onto those bigger stages. Like that's something I got to give to A&W. They are very good at making courses that are interesting to watch. And that's something like I learned a lot from, where like A&W had this interesting philosophy of like the spectacle of the obstacle over the actual like difficulty of the obstacle, which I found very interesting. And when they would change an obstacle to make it easier, they wouldn't change the part of the obstacle that was interesting if they could. So I remember we were doing the honeycombs on stage 2, which were too hard. That was so fun. It was a great obstacle. They were too hard. And the one honeycomb move that was too hard, it had like a ledge that was pretty small. It was like a cut in half dowel, so it was just like a little. It was like an easy cliffhanger, but it was a 10-foot lache to it, so it was pretty hard. And instead of making the lache closer, they put a bigger ledge there, which I thought like which kind of I don't know why that like spoke to me so much. But like okay, if you're a normal person watching this obstacle, the thing that's more impressive to you is the 10-foot lache to this honeycomb rather than the ledge that got changed from being 1 inch to 2 inches. Like that's not a difference that actually means anything to you really. Versus like, all right, the 10-foot lache, like that move was huge. Even with the easier version, it was still really big. Um, and like that ended up being a lot more interesting. So like when I am changing my obstacles, like my goal is always to preserve the spectacle of the obstacle as much as possible. Like, oh, I hate when people change obstacles by just taking out the cool part.
Oh, you mean so it's not good to just drop rings between every obstacle and just say, "Oh yeah, this is our new course now."
I hate it so much. Like, okay, it's like say it's like, oh, this is the one that gets me the most. If it's male and female, and you have palm flip, for example, and your male variation is the palm flip is reset in its up position, and the female is just they don't do the palm flip move. Like, oh my god, are you kidding me? That's so lame and insulting and lazy. Ugh. Because like that, you can. I am very much of the opinion that moves aren't like set in stone. You can do a lot of things to make a move appropriate for the people. Like, okay, I hit up for grabs in my last competition, right? It was a tier 2 and everyone thought I was insane. When I told people, "Oh, I'm going to put up for grabs in my tier 2." They're all like, "You're insane." Um
Actually, they don't know how goated you are.
and like it worked fine. It was the last obstacle, so sure, a lot of people fell on it, but a lot of people got it. Like there were divisions where it wasn't the obstacle with the most fails. Like in my preteen females, more of them got the up for grabs than the cliffhanger. So like that's kind of sick. Um, and like, but that was possible because like, okay, I thought about like what makes up for grabs difficult. Um, it's scary. So I put it over a huge mat and put it on a safety system. Um, then the other thing with bar up for grabs that's tricky is if you grab it forward grip, it's like easier from a technical perspective to just grab in place. Versus if you grab a switch grip, it's definitely a more difficult catch because you might twist the bar, you have less control, all of that. But then the catch will be a lot easier. When I learned it as forward grip, and I always just thought that was easier. So what I did was I'm instead of just doing like normal like DGS sky hooks like typically you would do, I made these hooks where it was like a big V, pretty sharp angle, probably like 60 degrees, and then there was a bunch of rubber in there, so the part would land in there and wedge. So then that makes it the best of both worlds, where you can do that forward grip catch, and then you can also just have it be an easy grip, and also, like, you can kind of put the bar wherever. So, like, for those preteen females I was talking about, I put it directly above the hooks. So you just lachey to it and fall straight down. And it was great. A bunch of them got it. And it was really hype for a lot of them because, like, they've never done a move like that. Because, like, that's not typically what you see in a tier 2.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
you're really thinking about or mentioning like the complexity of the obstacle and how you can scale it appropriately no matter what. Because you're thinking through those details when you're designing the obstacle in the first place, which I think is important.
yeah, for sure. Like, Like, if you want to get into course design, I think understanding the mechanics of obstacles is, like, the single most important thing, because that's what ultimately gives you, like, freedom within course design. Like, I felt confident that I could execute this course with that up for grabs in it despite it being tier 2. Because okay, like, in theory, tier 2 is kind of a limiting thing on your course design, right? Like, these are newer athletes, and so you, in theory, have less diversity of what techniques are available to you to test within the course. But if you have a good enough understanding of your scaling, that reopens a lot of those techniques. Like, for example, like I posted the course and everyone's like, "This is a tier 2?" And I was like, "Yes, it's a tier 2," and we had plenty of clears. And even on the courses that didn't get fully cleared, someone cleared every obstacle. So, like, there were plenty of runs where someone just failed the up for grabs or just failed the cliffhanger or just failed one of the earlier obstacles. So, like, while the course turned out a little harder than I would have liked to see a couple of full clears for sure. Um, it still was, I would say, acceptable because, like, the obstacles were all clearly fair, just no one strung them together.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that nuance of obstacle design is so important. I just wanna go back to earlier, you said you were using the pamphlet as an example of what would be not the best female change out. And so obviously, like Megan was here on the last podcast talking about female design and stuff, but like, can you give a specific example of using the palm flip as what you would do for the change out? Maybe that'll help people have an idea of what you're talking about.
Yeah, so for sure. So say we're doing palm flip, right? And we're thinking about palm
Maybe
flip.
describe what the palm flip is. People that
Yeah,
don't know.
okay, so
Sorry.
palm flip, probably my favorite Brett Sims obstacle other than throwback. Super cool obstacle. You catch a cliffhanger and there's this like Y-shaped board that's up against a stopper bar. So there's a bar it rotates and a second stopper bar. You grab this cliffhanger, it pulls into that bar, and then you pull up and push it to catch the swinging portion, and then that gives you a longer pendulum to advance to the next obstacle. Now, the version of palm flip that I just described in its like intended form, say you get a DGS palm flip and do that move's like pretty hard, frankly. Like, um, like, what's it? I remember I was talking about it with Sam Folsom, who worked with Brett on the course that Palm Flip debuted in, and he was like, "Dang, this thing is hard, bruh." And it is. I remember the first time I tried it; it was really hard. Um, but like, so I think everyone would agree that the interesting portion of the palm flip is that the thing swinging down and recatching it, right? So, say your male version is you're catching the cliffhanger and do the pop up catch. For your female version, you could do a couple things. You can have a bigger ledge. I'm always in favor of bigger ledges. The only people that are gonna notice that the ledge is bigger is the person doing the obstacle, and most of the time they'll be grateful that the ledge is bigger. um, your viewers will never notice, and you get cooler moves out of it. Now, I love small ledges, everyone knows that, but they are not very useful a lot of the time. I would recommend using them very sparingly because when you do, then they have a better dramatic effect and are more interesting. Um, because ledges are like really useful. You can screw them onto anything. Basically every ninja obstacle is made of wood. So you can always add a ledge, but most of the time the right ledge to add is a 3 ball limiter. That's a huge jug, not like a credit card. That's like a tiny little bogey. But anyway, so first easy change would be adding the like a juggy cliffhanger. Because like that is like that looks very similar to the male obstacle. And like with the girls, like a lot of what they want is just to feel like effort was put into their course and that they're not having a course that is dumbed down. Like they want a course that's challenging but doable. Um, and like, say you put that small ledge on there, that's not dumbing down the obstacle, it's just making it more reasonable, frankly. Other thing you can do is the DGS one has that ledge on the back, and you can do that move that's here to here, where you catch the back and kind of flip it like that. So you can do that. That move is definitely pretty chill. So say you wanted something a little harder, that's your time where you could have a more difficult cliff ledge. Because if you want slightly harder, you can have the ledge that you're initially lacheting to, that one being smaller. And then you have that hard move there, and then that chiller lache or flip down to the thing. Or you can put a more difficult catch on the actual palm flip itself. I saw at Strive, they did this cool thing where it was this version of the palm flip, which frankly I like that version better. I think it feels better. And then there was a bar across on the Y, and they grabbed like a cane and placed it. It was so cool. You'd like flip it and catch down there. Like I think what you have to understand is that, like, obstacles are, like, infinitely variable, and, like, there's always a version that will work for what you're looking for. You just have to, like, put the thought into actually, like, trying to come up with it.
Yeah, which I don't think people again, one of the reasons why I think you've become such a great course designer is because you think about this stuff more than anybody else. Like the things you're saying, I don't think anyone. I feel like some people listening right now are gonna be like, "Wow, I never thought of it that way," or "I never thought to do that." Or like, you know what I mean? Like it's so special that you have that view on obstacles, and I think it just comes from your diverse background in building obstacles, designing them since the time you started doing Ninja, literally.
Yeah, I
Is that
think
what you would attribute that to? You think?
yeah, so when I started Ninja, the culture was that you would build the obstacles from the show and then train on those so you can do the obstacles from the show.
Oh yeah.
But I always kinda looked at them and I wanted to do the salmon ladder or the cliffhanger or the unstable bridge, but I recognized, "Okay, I kinda suck, so I probably can't do these things." So what I would do was I'd go on Sasukepedia, get the dimensions of the obstacles, and then, like, proportion them down. So, like, a standard salmon ladder rung on A&W and Sasuke originally was 12 inches, and the bar was, like, freaking really heavy.
Yep.
So I looked at that and I was like, "Okay, I can't do no 12-inch rung. I'm gonna make a 6-inch rung." So then I'm doing the obstacle, I'm learning the technique, but, like, in a environment that's more reasonable for me to actually succeed. And I did this for, like, every obstacle, like, my original cliffhangers were smaller, like, size. I'd have the right size ledges because I was, like, kinda naturally good at cliffhangers, so I could, like, hang on the smaller ledges, but I'd make the actual obstacle itself less. Or when I was learning how to do the crazy cliffhanger with the 180 lache, I made a 3-foot version of it that I learned on first instead of doing the 6-foot with the giant drop like Sasuke. I learned on the smaller version and then moved up. So, like, for me, like, Ninja being, like, adjustable and, like, scaling has always been, like, a part of my Ninja training. Even in my training now, I'll, like, run a training course and be like, "Oh, I didn't like this, this, and this," and I'll change my course to make it more appropriate to what I'm looking for, right? Because, like, ultimately, like, your training course, right, has a purpose. It's to make you better. So, like, if something is too easy, you can make it harder, but also if something's too hard, you probably should make it a little easier. Like, if I have a vertical limit in my course and it's a 5 millimeter vertical limit and I fail the first move, that's not really helpful for me in my course run. It would probably be a lot more productive if I put like a limit that was twice as big, but I could get more moves on it so that I'm getting a better pump.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing you're talking about is progression, and I think this is slightly switching gears from course design to coaching, but I feel like progression is the key to teaching anyone anything, is being able to break down skills like you're describing. And back to being course designer, understanding progression of that obstacle is how you're going to scale it properly for everyone that's going to attempt that obstacle. You
Yeah, for
understand?
sure.
Yeah. So being able to like take that most high level version of that obstacle and breaking it down to like the most basic fundamental version of that thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, there's a huge overlap between like how I scale my obstacles in practice for my kids and how I scale them in competition, frankly. Like, because it's just useful. Like if I want a kid to learn an obstacle, I'm gonna scale it to a version that they can do, which ultimately is what you also need to do for a competition, assuming you want people to get through that
Yeah, I
obstacle.
mean, yeah, exactly. Like you're knowing your athletes, and then you're because you know the athletes, you had the experience you have with understanding obstacles, you then can scale them appropriately for each division or for each whatever. You know, what I mean, that's just how it is. So
Yeah, for sure. And like teaching does like help you learn that a lot. Like the things that I have found the most like instructive and have made me a better coach is not coaching the super high level athletes. It's actually coaching my like less skilled athletes who don't necessarily get everything first try and need more effort put into them. First of all, it's more rewarding for you as a coach if like, that kid that isn't quite as good gets something because you know what? Like they had to work really hard on it and you had to work really hard to help them get it. And that's like awesome. But also like, a lot of times those kids that aren't quite as good don't get as much attention just because they aren't like, incredible. And, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with being, like, terrible in Ninja. Like, I definitely am not nearly as good as I would like to be. But that doesn't, like, mean anything. I think, like, what's valuable is, like, how much work you put into it. I would much rather work with a kid that is awful, but has, like, a good attitude and wants to get better than an incredible kid that has, like, a bad attitude and, like, isn't good to work with, frankly. Like, but that also, like, working with those kids that are a little, like, less skilled, less talented is like it makes you a better coach because you have to learn how to coach in a way that isn't necessarily what you would do normally. Like, say I'm teaching a kid the flying bar. When I did flying bar, I did it on my first try. Like, it wasn't scary for me. It just made sense to me. I did it. It was fine. But then I've had to become such a better coach trying to teach a lot of my kids flying bar because they're all scared of it because it's terrifying, frankly. Like, I don't know why I wasn't scared of it. I was doing it over like grass with no mat. And the first time I did it at a gym, it was with like a steel bar.
Yep.
So like I don't know what it was about me, but I just wasn't scared of it. So like I kind of had to grow a lot to understand and have more empathy, frankly, for these people who are scared of it and like have to learn how to teach them how to do it because what worked for me just wouldn't work for them, frankly.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier of how your coaching experience leads to you being a better course designer because you understand those progressions, because you have to do it to help your students to achieve whatever they're trying to overcome. So because of that, again, you can apply that to your course design. So progression is a big thing for course designers and coaches. And we can talk about coaching for like a long time too, I guess, but we don't necessarily have to. Um, I want to get back to worlds and specifically like you being a course designer and you've been doing it for 2 years now, going to your third year. With all that experience you've gained from working with worlds and things, where do you see the sport going to in the next couple years?
Well, I think the events are going to continue getting bigger. I mean, Worlds last year was our biggest Worlds to date, and then the one this year is going to be crazy because we have head to head and tier two in there. So like that bumps us up by like 1.5K athletes. Like that's pretty crazy. It adds another day onto the event. It means we need way more obstacles reduced. We're getting another rig to like accommodate all of that. So like it is like a big thing. And like my hope is that, as the sport grows, there will be more events like that because I do think ultimate like I love gym comps, but what I do think is important is that we have more of those professional events like Worlds. Because like that's what's gonna get us into the Olympics. Like for me, I want Ninja in the Olympics. Like that's so important to me. Because like I want Ninja to be a legitimate sport. Like to me, it is, but to a lot of people, it isn't. Like I remember I'm sure every ninja has had this experience where someone's like, "Oh, well, what sports do you play?" And you're like, "I do ninja. Have you seen American Ninja Warrior on TV?" And then the worst is when they say no when you have to explain it. That's the worst.
Yep, yep.
Um, but like, I don't see any reason why ninja is like a lesser sport than like basketball or football or whatever. And I've never had that experience of being like, "Yeah, I play basketball." And everyone's like, "Well, what's that?" Um, so, like, for me, I want it to be that, like, those little kids that do ninja are like, "Oh, I do ninja," and people are like, "Oh, I know what that is. That's cool. I saw that in the Olympics. Like, that's awesome. Like, you can fly. That's awesome." And also just, like, the Olympics is really cool, man. Like, my, like, dream is to set the Olympics. That'd be so cool. Um, just having people from around the world come and, like, run this course and, like, have, like, the best competition ever, like, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so these professional events like these, the WNL hosts, yeah, they do kind of push the sport in that direction. I mean, I think the one of the problems we face as a sport is there's so many different leagues and organizations that are trying to do the same thing. And I've said it for years. I wish they always worked together because I feel like if everyone was working together, it would push the sport so much further.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would really like for the leagues to consolidate, because like all of the different leagues, I think is more of an obstacle to the progress of the sport than actually like helping it.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I think what we could all do together is so much more than like what we can all do like competing as because frankly, like it is like a problem to have all the leagues because it de-standardizes Ninja, which is a problem. Like we need a standard format, frankly.
Mm.
Because like say we did get an offer to be in the next Olympics, what would it even be? What would the rule set be? Like that's like such like a thing that people like don't really think about, but all the leagues having different rules kind of is like a problem. Like, you know what I mean? Um, like imagine like if basketball got in there, but there was one league that didn't have the 3-point line. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So I see that as a bit of an issue for sure. So I mean, my goal would be that we can just get like a unified rule set that we can bring around the world, have large competitions with that rule set, and then that's what ends up going into the Olympics. I mean, that would be great. And I think, frankly, like the leagues coming together and consolidating is the only way that we can push the sport forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think that's a great vision. I just don't know if it'll ever happen.
I hope so, man.
Yeah, me too, man. I've been saying it for so many years. I wish everyone just worked together and play nicely, but I don't know. There's so many things probably happen behind the scenes that I mean, obviously I don't know, but I'm sure maybe you know, but maybe you don't. That happens between the leagues and conversations and different things. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would love for them to talk to each other, and I'm sure they do. Again, I don't know. Like, I don't know what actually happens behind the scenes for all these things. I know I have heard stories of certain things in the past of why certain things are the way they are, but yeah. So you're saying that you see it going bigger, maybe the Olympics, but you see it getting to this next standpoint, no matter
Yeah,
what.
for sure. Cause like I think like I feel like ninja has so much potential as a recreational sport. Just in general, like as I was saying earlier, like anyone can do ninja. One like experience for me that was like pretty formative was the first time I went to Ferox. Because Ferox has kind of a different philosophy to their gym than like, I typically am used to. Like I've always been like at like gyms with like, high level competitive teams. So like our focus has always been like all hard obstacles and all that. But Ferox has made that you can just walk in off the street and do the obstacles. And, like, I think that's really cool because that's more like a rock gym, and rock gyms obviously have been dramatically more successful than ninja gyms and have also rock climbing's gotten into the Olympics. And obviously, I still love having the hard obstacles, and Ferox does that, but they have obstacles that are just, like, cool, simple obstacles that you can just come in and learn how to do off the street, even just, like, without, like, formal coaching, which I think is fantastic. Because, like, ultimately, that's what's gonna grow the sport the most, just people, like, making the barrier to entry as low as possible, I think is what's really important, because like, that's how we're gonna get the most people in, and I think the most important thing is getting people in, frankly, because like, I believe in ninja, like, I think that we can get people in, and then so long as we do a good job with, like, making the sport accessible and making it fun to continue being in it, then people will still be in it. But all of our work to do that is pointless if the barrier to entry is too high for people to come into the sport.
Yeah, that's really well said, man. I couldn't agree more. And we earlier we talked about the whole idea of rock gyms. How people can just do it for fun, and you can just come into a rock gym and do it, and not the I think that's beautiful, and that ninja could be that thing for sure. I will say, slightly switching gears with the Olympics, I always go back and forth in my head because obviously, I also think it'd be cool if ninja was in the Olympics. Like, yeah, that'd be sick. But I'm also like, do we even need that? Like, there are other sports that aren't in the Olympics that are arguably more successful and popular than sports in the Olympics. Like the UFC, for example. Like, will mixed martial arts be in the Olympics? Maybe, but does it need to be? No. Like, it's still the like most popular sport in the world essentially, and it's like not in the Olympics. So it's like, do we need that? And I don't know. It's just something for to think about or maybe discuss. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting thing to bring up because, like, American football isn't in the Olympics either, and that's a pretty popular sport. But I don't know. I think being in the Olympics would be cool, man. Because the cool thing about the Olympics is that kind of like that tradition going back to like ancient Greece and having everyone
Oh,
come
and
in.
you love your ancient stuff.
I do, I do. Um, but like I don't know. I think because that is like the biggest sporting event in the world, I feel like it's like I don't know. I think it's like a more clear goal for me at least. Because like all right, like making ninja the biggest sport in the world, right? How do I go about that goal? And how do I know if I've been successful?
Yeah,
But
these are
like
good questions to think
getting
about.
into the Olympics, that's a very I can check that box off. So I think like because I think to achieve any goal you need to have direction. And even if like me getting ninja into the Olympics isn't like feasible, it's still a direction that I think will advance the sport in the way I want. Because the things I want for ninja are, most of the things that I care about for ninja are getting it around the world, right? As many people as possible around the world being able to experience it, and also it being a real sport. I care a lot about that because, obviously, like, A&W is a television show first, so, like, the actual, like, sport aspect of it is secondary. Um, I think the Olympics is a good way to go about that because, like, it is, like, a sports organization. So I think that's really important, and then also, ninja being in the Olympics achieves that goal of a low barrier to entry that I'm interested in because everyone watches the Olympics. Like it's awesome. Like I don't care about other sports at all, and I was watching the Winter Olympic figure skating. Oh, that's awesome. But like that gives us a huge, huge platform that allows these that funnels money back into the gyms when people are like, "Oh, that looks sick. I want to go try it." And then assuming that the gyms are set up in the way I would like, where it is accessible to come in and try these obstacles if you're brand new, then like that, ultimately like building up that highest level will have that effect of ideally bringing more people into the gyms. And so long as the gyms have a low enough barrier to entry, then like I see no reason why Ninja can't continue to grow.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the thing about Ninja that I think I agree with you, the Olympics might be the best platform to do it is because let's say, okay, so obviously American football, UFC, they happen in stadiums and arenas, right? They have lots of fans that come and watch and stuff. If that was a Ninja comp, what would the format be?
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
a great question.
Because like it can't be multi-stage,
I
but
think it could be multi-stage.
maybe. I feel like I think objectively the most exciting way to watch Ninjas head to head. I think it's just easy to understand. It's exciting. Listen, I'm an OG. I like the four-stage comp the best. I'm always going to be a diehard multi-stage event person. However, I feel like if you're some random dude at a bar, randomly watching it on TV, like anyone can watch a race and understand exactly what's happening without any other notions or understanding. You know what I mean?
E I actually don't agree with that. Because I feel like that fails to account for a lot of like the actual like trends we've seen within Ninja. So for example, like A&W was at its most popular in season 7 when Jeff and Isaac achieved total victory. Um and that obviously that is like the most pure that was like when A&W was like the purest multi-stage. And then A&W's multiple head-to-head spin-offs have had like lesser success. And also making a good head-to-head is, like, a little more difficult than you think because you have never been to a bad competition until you have been to a bad head-to-head. Oh my god. There is one head-to-head I went to that you will get to see soon that was pretty rough. But anyway, so no, I actually disagree. I think head-to-head is really cool, and I enjoy head-to-head. Um, but I think head-to-head would have to be like speed climbing where well, okay, then it is speed climbing the most popular discipline for Olympic climbing?
I don't know. I have to look into it.
Yeah, I don't know because my intuition is that it's not, but I don't know.
It might be. I think it's like for us being as deeply involved in Ninja for as many years we've been, like to us, head to head's not exciting, and that's not the real Ninja. Like, it's different, you know what I mean? But for
Mhm.
a person who's never seen it before, if they're gonna watch like someone do like a stage three, first of all, they don't understand how difficult it is. Like they see someone hang on a
I
VL.
disagree though. I think you can show how difficult stage 3 is because I think anyone who watches like Jeff Britton's stage 3 run in 7, you can tell that that course is difficult because that boy's up on the flying bar like ah.
Yeah, that's
Right?
fair.
So, like, I think it's more just, like, designing the course well, frankly,
Hmm.
making the course easy to understand. Because like, that's something that I really care about. Because like, a lot of the I feel like I do have, like, a different style than the current, like, style of a lot of, like, the other, like, NSC comps or large pro comps, where it's a little more it's hard to explain, but it's a little more, like, traditional almost because there is something about those traditional obstacles that is just, like, intuitive. Like, the cliffhanger is intuitively difficult because 'cause you're on a small ledge and you have to hang on it, and the cameraman can just zoom in on how small that ledge is, and the commentary can be like, "Oh, it's just 1 inch," and everyone, like, knows, like, "Wow, that sounds really hard."
I don't know if they do though. Like I feel like one of the appeals from Ninja, like the show is like people watch, they're like, oh, I could do that,
Mhm.
and then they go to a gym, they're like, nope, can't do that, But like they have to like that's what makes them. Everyone that watches Ninja's like a lot of people even got into it from the same mindset where they're just like, yeah, I can do that, They don't understand like it's fucking hard,
Yeah,
like.
well, people I don't know. I think people do recognize, like, okay, say they see some of these, like, crazy up for grabs is they are like, "Alright, I probably can't do that."
Maybe.
Or like a 10-foot lache. I feel like most people are probably like, "I can't do a 10-foot
Yeah, I
lache."
think it's an interesting discussion. I would love to like do a poll and ask people across the ninja community and just people that aren't involved, like what do they think they would be interested in watching?
Mhm.
Because I do think you're right. There's like an identity crisis within the sport where it's like there's so many leagues, there's so many like formats, and if it wasn't the Olympics, yeah, what would the format be? Because one thing that I will say that I really dislike about the possibility of ninja in the Olympics is like many Olympic sports are standardized. Like they have a very set judging system or criteria, like using gymnastics as the example, all the equipment's the exact same. And my fear would be that Ninja would lose the part of it that makes it special, which is the nuance, different obstacles, the ever changing courses, which personally, again, me being an OG, like, I would miss that if we lost. I know every course was the exact same.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a course designer, so I'd be out of luck if that happened.
Yeah.
But I think like our model can be rock climbing. Like rock climbing came into the Olympics. Obviously, the speed problem is set, but then the lead routes and the boulders are different each time. So like, I see no reason that ninja can't be the exact same
That's
way.
a good point. That's a really good
Um,
point, yeah.
and I think the other interesting thing, so I think probably the most practical way to have ninja in the Olympics is if it was disciplines and it was a hybrid discipline, a speed discipline, which could be head to head, and a burnout discipline. Maybe not a burnout discipline because people find that kind of boring a lot of the time, but something like that. But my vote would actually be for a multi stage because I think the thing that people forget about multi stage is across over a long period of time with multiple multi-stage is easily the best way to tell a story with ninja. Like if you go back and watch the old Sasuke's back to back, it's like an incredible story of watching how like all these guys like got to beating this course. And like I think that's what was like cool back in the day. Like watching Makoto Nagano trying to like defeat this course over so many years and seeing the effort he put into that. It's just you just can't do that same thing with these competitions that are disconnected from each other. Like the multi-stage competitions have this kind of continuity to them where okay, sure, you can have a hard obstacle at the end of your course and it's exciting when someone finally gets it, but that will never be as exciting as when the crazy cliffhangers has been there for 5 years and no one has gotten it and then the one person who like dedicated their life to getting the crazy cliffhanger gets it. So that is the one thing that I that is like the key advantage of multi-stage that I don't think that any of the other formats can have, especially at the Olympics, which while it is a sport, does have a pretty big like storytelling aspect to it.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I think you're honestly, now you're saying it loud, I think I agree with you. I think that would be the way. Because also, like, the one thing maybe if how to make it more of a team thing, like this country versus country, is tracking results differently. Like, I actually so recently, for those of you guys that don't know, the WNL every now and again, like, have meetings with gym owners and, like, with the group, it was, like, me and, like, 3 other gym owners, and, we were, like, giving input and ideas, and one of the things I think we're missing in the WNL is we have so many great gyms and competitive programs, but there's no, like, tracking of the team's performances. So maybe what it is for the Olympics and just in general is that at Worlds for WNL or just in the Olympics, like, your team's performance is tracked and the overall average, I don't know what the exact answer is, but there's a way to track each team's performance across the entire event.
Yeah, well, gymnastics and figure skating do that.
Mm.
So like I see no reason we can't do that. Like so I was just watching figure skating. I love figure skating. Um, and like, obviously there's the individual competition, but then there is also the team competition that I don't know exactly how the scoring works off top, but there is an individual winner of the figure skating, but then also a team winner.
Exactly. I think that's what
Like
it
I'm
should be
pretty
for
sure the
us.
US won the team thing.
Right. I think
I'm
that's
not
the
very informed, but
I fully agree. I think that's exactly what it should be because same thing with like wrestling. Like wrestling is an individual sport. It's only you on the mat against your opponent. However, yeah, like your team scores the average of everyone's wins, or I forget the exact end for the exact thing, but it's the same thing. Like ninja is an individual sport. It's only you on the course. However, yeah, tracking that across all the stages or just on stage one, like that, there's so many ways you can judge that. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and I think Ninja lends itself to that like really easily because Ninja is very quantized. Like it could be as simple as what team completed the most total obstacles.
Oh
Like
my God, you're right. Yeah.
it's not that hard.
There's so
Like,
many options. There's so many
yeah, it
options.
can
You're
be
right.
place total. It can be obstacles completed. I would lean towards obstacles completed because like, old school and all that.
Yeah, yeah, but then even like in going back to being old school, maybe A&W versus the World did this. I forget exactly, but
They
like,
didn't have no individual winner though, bruh.
no, 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 I know, but, like, maybe, like, each obstacle is, like, weighted differently. So, like, completing, like, a stage 3 obstacle is worth more points than, like, a stage 1 obstacle, you know what I mean? Because then it also forces your team to be well-rounded.
Yeah,
So
for
it's like
sure.
yeah.
Or even if it was scored with traditional multi-stage scoring where you have to clear to advance.
Yep.
Or even if it wasn't that you have to clear to advance, but you have to be in a percentage or whatever, but you get a bonus for clearing, for example.
True,
Like there's
or
so many different ways.
so
And
many.
like, yeah, like I don't think making Ninja a team scoreable sport is like a big problem at all. I think it's really easy.
That's super easy. I think it's interesting to think about. I think that we should incorporate it in Ninja now because it's maybe that's the road to the Olympics is how to standardize what the competition format is.
Yeah,
I
no, for
know
sure.
real quick, just I didn't mean to interrupt you, but a long time ago, Dan Galzinski attempted to do like a team award at one of his WNLs.
Mhm.
I thought that was brilliant. I didn't really like the format exactly because you had to have at least 3 athletes for your team to be ranked,
Yeah.
which for me, selfishly, I didn't like it in that,
You and 2 athletes.
yeah, I had like or 1 athlete, but that 1 athlete won the comp, but we got 0 team points because we didn't have 3, which I think is silly. Like if you only have 1 kid, but that kid is like the best in the world, you should still like, you know what I mean? Like
Well,
it's
but
weird,
then
but
would your kid get rewarded for winning the comp, but then, like, your team, which is that one kid, probably wouldn't do as well as the other teams, you know?
yeah, I think we need to figure out a way to mathematically quantify it. But yeah, I think there's a way to do it where it's like your team across every division, maybe like specific division base. You could also break it up by like just overall the entire competition, like at Worlds, for example.
Yeah.
Because I'd be interested in learning like what team has the best overall average of placements, let's say at Worlds.
Yeah, for sure, and, like, I think actually the issue you're getting at is more of an issue of scale than an issue of, like, the actual, like, format because, like, okay, at the Olympics, you know, they all have, like, teams of, I believe, roughly the same size, because, you know, everyone wants to be in the Olympics, so there's no shortage of people trying to do that, whereas, like, the example you're talking about, like, alright, you only have 1 person show up,
Yeah, that's true.
so it'd probably be a lot easier, say, like, if every team had 20 athletes or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, I mean, if it was at like the Olympics, it'd be way easier. But I guess specifically speaking about nowadays, if we and started incorporating something like this now, which I really think the WNL should do, um, is that yeah, like I don't know how we quantify it, but like I think that like this past Worlds, for example, obviously Owen he got first place, but then Sawyer his first time at Worlds got ninth place. So we had the number 1 position, number 9 position.
Yeah.
But based on these other formats, because we have enough athletes, we wouldn't even be considered on the table. But I think undeniably our team had the highest placement in that division at Worlds as a collective. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most likely, I mean, I'd be interested what Vitality's placements were because I believe they got 3rd, 2nd or 3rd, and then whether
Yeah.
they had another person within I have no
Sure.
idea.
Yeah. I don't know, and that's why I'd love it to be tracked because I'm
Yeah.
not saying that because like oh I think we should win some type of I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just mean like I think it's better for the sport to have a way to yeah like quantify teams placements because on the WNL's website there is like a team thing, but
Yeah,
they
but
don't.
no one cares
Yeah, no
about it.
one
I don't even
cares. They
know if
don't
I'm on
track it.
Team Dexterity.
You definitely aren't. But you don't compete anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah,
But
dude, I'm qualified for regionals this year.
oh yeah. But again, like I think there should be some sort of way to track a team's progress, and I think that would then lead to potentially more better structure for the Olympics potentially one day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would hope though with that like I like how it is with figure skating where there is that like individual winner because ninja is ultimately an individual sport. And I think that's also kind of what's like compelling about it.
Well, I
Like,
think it's both things, right?
yeah,
Like
no, I
I
agree.
agree. I think I fully agree. I think it should individual awards, obviously, then also like tracking team.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because you also can milk more drama out of that, frankly. Like, imagine I am at the Olympics, I'm pulling up to stage 3, and Team USA is however many points behind, and I need to clear stage 3 to win it for the US. Like, that'd be kind of
That's
fire.
that's badass. Yeah, that is
Yeah, and
sick.
then I have the Jeff Britton run where I like barely clear. Like, that would be the sickest thing ever. You
Oh
can't
my
tell.
god, yeah.
Yeah, that you can't tell me that wouldn't be like the single most viewed sporting event ever. That'd be
Honestly, dude,
awesome.
you're really selling me. I really think that this could be a thing if we do it like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, the largest competition is a multi-stage. Like
Yeah.
Worlds is the largest competition. It's already a multi-stage. So I don't know.
Here's the thing. I think people are gonna hate me for saying this. I really do think the way the WNL puts on Worlds is like just the best event that happens in the community. Like, I just think it's the best one.
I mean, I agree, but
I
I'm
mean, yeah, you're
pretty
obviously yeah,
biased.
selfishly like you work for them, but like I don't know. I feel like it just is like it's the most professional. Yeah, they have mistakes. Every organization has mistakes. They've only been around for 11 years now. Like every year they get better. They listen to the community. They respond. They change things. Sometimes they make mistakes. Again, I'm gonna say that one more time. But again, like the way the professionalism at Worlds, what the event looks like, the scale of it, like we were talking about earlier, it's just so much better than their leagues, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree with that because like I've been to plenty of league finals. I've been to a lot of competitions in my day. And I've worked on a lot of competitions, and I think like the level of organization at Worlds is like incredible. Like seeing it from the back end too, how much thought goes into it. Even just making the schedule is so much work. Like Chris and Sapir have been working on the schedule for this Worlds for I don't even know how long, a really long time. And then like me, Greg, and Nick and DGS have been working on the obstacles since I think the first obstacle that's in Worlds this year that I came up with, I made in April of 2025. Um, So, like, you know, we've so much work goes into it, and, like, it's a really difficult to run event, man. So, like, we're gonna make mistakes. We're all so tired, and mistakes will get made, but, like, I don't know. I would just ask that people give people working for the WNL grace because, like, it's a really tough job, and, like, you know, we're all just trying our best to, like, make a good event for this, like, sport we love.
Yeah, I think that is so important for people to hear because yeah, you guys literally are doing this. You guys don't really get paid much. You guys aren't like people always say that, oh, the WNL is money hungry. It's like they don't understand how much you guys actually make. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know either, but from talking to people like you and others, like you guys don't make anything. Like it's a small organization. They're struggling. They're all passionate about it. And the thing is, like, this gets me low key annoyed. Is like I think people have amnesia and they forget that like Chris Wilczewski was the first ninja gym owner in the entire country. He has been an innovator in ninja in the sport since the beginning. He's not some outside force. He's not like a person who's never done ninja before. He has been so involved in the sport since the beginning. And the whole reason why he started the sport, or started the league rather, was that one day if the show died, the gyms could continue to flourish.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Chris has done, like, probably more than anyone, frankly, to advance the sport. And, like, y'all don't even know how much, like, work behind the scenes, like, Chris does. Like, Chris gets up at, like, 4 a.m. Every day and then, like, works on a WNL schedule, right? Like, as much work as, like, I put into WNL, he does infinitely more. And, like, frankly, all the jobs that, like, I wouldn't wanna do, like, I'm lucky, like, that I do a lot of work, but it's on things I wanna do, frankly. Chris gets out here and he, like, makes this schedule, like, oh my god, I've made a schedule, it's so boring. So, like, I don't know, like, and that's, like, the kinda commitment that, like, I mean, I wish, frankly, like, he would get more credit for, and that the league would get more credit for. Because okay, y'all talk about, like, worlds having issues, I'd really like to see some other people try and do it because it's a whole
Well,
thing.
here's the funny thing is the other leagues that are doing it, it sucks. Like I'm sorry, people are gonna hate me for saying this, but like if you look at the WNL Worlds and you compare it side by side to, I'm not gonna say the name, to another league, how can you say the other one's better? The other one literally had a Walmart roller coaster on their course. Like, what do you mean? Like, Jesus God.
Yeah,
Ugh.
and it's, like, the other thing too is, like, people get annoyed with, like, the obstacles or whatever, but it's, like, have you considered what making an obstacle that 2,000 people are gonna use is like? Like, so much stuff that people put up at gyms just wouldn't work for Worlds, like, because like, whether it just be that it's too difficult to ref, it's not safe, it's too hard, it's not consistent, it takes too long to reset. Like, there's so many limiting factors on what obstacles we can use for that competition, and, like, I don't think people understand how difficult it is to design the Worlds courses, like, I really there is no course that is more difficult to design than those ones, just because you need to make them so adjustable, like, stage 1 is really hard, because that one everyone is going to make, so it needs to be a course that, like, is clearable, like, pretty clearable, like a 35% clear rate by 6-year-olds and the best ninjas in the world, while still being an interesting course all the way through every division. Because, like, okay, say I have some cool, like, flying bar thing that's super hard at the end of my stage 1A, it's super cool for elite, probably gonna suck in 6 to 8, so that probably wouldn't be a very good decision. I mean, in theory, I could still get my clear rate by throwing a bunch of rings at it, but, like, that wouldn't be very cool now, would it? So, like, designing, like this year, for example, making the last obstacle stage 1 this year that hasn't come out yet, like, I put a lot of thought into that obstacle, and, like, I'm really proud of it, but, like, I don't know, like, it was really hard to design that obstacle, frankly.
I'm excited to see it.
I'm pretty excited about that one, I like that. I think the World's courses this year are definitely, like, the best ones I've worked on. I think me and Greg and Nick, like, really understand how to work together, and we all just have so much, like, experience now of just, like, what will work for Worlds and, like, what we can do, what's too ambitious, like, all of that stuff. So I think it'll be really good. I'm really excited for everyone to see it, try all the obstacles, you know, have a good time.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it too. I mean, I'm super excited. I think Worlds is like my favorite event that we do as a team. It's the one event that our entire team can watch each other compete. Most times you go to comps, they're separate waves, and our team does such a good job of cheering each other on, being on the sidelines. It's just a fun, just energetic, like positive experience for our entire community, which is amazing.
Dude,
So
it's great. Our team cheers me on. I'll pull up to like a demo or something, and then the kids will be like, "Yeah, go Brad!" Or
yeah.
I'll come to fix something, and they'll be like roaring applause. It's so funny.
It's such a great event. And like, yeah, I mean, but back to what you're saying about people really not appreciating what people the WNL employees do. I mean, like, yeah, a lot of them are also volunteers too.
Yeah.
Like, especially at Worlds, like, people that are the course managers, the refs, they're all volunteers. I mean, I think maybe they get paid somewhat
Not
nowadays,
that
but, like,
much.
yeah, but not that much exactly. Like, it's a true labor of love.
For sure.
And the people involved, they've been involved in the community for a long time. They want what's best for the sport. They're not trying to scalp anybody. Like, they're doing their best to grow the sport in a positive way. And because they're at the top, that's why they get so much hate, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And like so many of the jobs at W now like suck. Like reffing. Oh my god. I hate reffing a 2 hour wave. I can't even imagine what reffing a world's wave is like. That must be so boring. And you have to be so deadpan the whole time too. Cause like obviously we want it to be fair. So like we need the ref to be kind of like um just an observer, right? Like not like, like when I ref at a comp, I'll like get excited and whatever, and I like talk to the people. Like you can't be doing that at Worlds. It's not professional, right? So like that must be so hard. Or being a course manager or just a resetter. Oh my god, resetting for those super long ways, that'd be so boring. And
Yeah.
even just like the riggers, like I said earlier, have 13-hour rig days. And then we have to do the change outs. Half the time I like break a sweat during the change out. Like it's really difficult, man. And it's fast. You're under a lot of pressure. And then I have to like demo the whole elite course afterwards.
I remember you had the whoop strap on this
Dude,
past
my
Worlds.
1 day of Worlds, 20.5 whoop strain, 12 hours and 44 minutes of maxed out stress. Got kicked out by Greg.
The events are so stressful. It takes so
Oh, you
much
guys have
work to
no
put on.
idea.
Yeah, I can't imagine, man. I really can't.
But it's fun.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's great. It's what's good for the sport. I mean, back to refing. Yeah, I reffed Worlds once for just a single day because the first day, this is back when you were still coaching and not actually working for WNL, and we had Alex too. And so the way we did it, for those of you that don't know, is we split up the team. So like certain people would coach certain athletes, and so the first day I didn't have to coach, and the WNL needed people to help ref because again they're so understaffed. They don't have
and
people
no
to
one
work their
wants to
events,
do it.
and nobody wants to do it. Also, no one can do it because everyone else
They're
is
all
coaching.
coaching. Yeah,
Yeah, they're
everyone that actually could do it is coaching.
yeah, exactly. They're coaching, they're competing, like they can't do it. So I was like, all right, I have no kids to coach the first day. I can ref, and like, yeah, I mean, it was yeah, it's a long day. It was only like that. I ref the shortest day, and it was still like a major pain in
What,
the
you
butt.
probably did like 4 or 5 hours, something like
Yeah, it was it
6.
was the Friday wave, so I think it started at like I don't know, like 5 or it went till 9 or I forget what the exact time
Yeah,
frame. But it
well,
was quick.
that's a long reffing block.
It was. I honestly enjoy refing. I really do enjoy refing. I think it's important for the sport. Also having good
For
quality
sure, yeah.
refs.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'm so big into that.
Yeah, because I think one thing that it's hard for people to understand if they're not haven't been in the sport for as long as you and I have is like in Ninja, obviously like at gyms, we don't have water. So when someone like there's this thing that happens a lot with incidental contact and understanding how the obstacle works and like when someone actually would have failed or not, like it's very nuanced. And I feel like right now there is training the WNL gives out, but I don't think it's good enough. Like I think
Yeah, and it's like it's really tough, frankly, because you have to be like on point, like making like split-second decisions. Like, I don't know about that.
yeah.
And like, I don't know, refs in other sports make mistakes too.
Yes, and yes, 100%. Refs do make mistakes. It does happen, and people need to give refs grace as well. But like, I do think there needs to be more training to understand like what is incidental contact, what's not. And a lot of it comes down to understanding body mechanics because like recently at one of our comps, our last tier one comp, one of our athletes, one of the athletes at the comp, it happened to be ours this time, I guess, but he was doing the quad steps and the quad step like he stepped on the side so it became unvelcroed, which shouldn't have happened. The quad step should have been just stayed velcroed, but it fell. So then he fell and his foot like grazed the floor and like he did have some weight in his toe. However, all of his weight was on his knee. So like if the quad step was higher, he would not have fallen, period. Like he just wouldn't have happened. Because it was low to the ground, like you could have made the argument that he did touch the ground. But for me, being experienced ref, it's like, well, I see his body positioning. I understand like that he was not going to fail the obstacle if it was like an inch higher from where it was. So I let it go. I thought it was. I consider incidental contact. You know what I mean? It would been way different if his entire body weight was on that foot and as he was off balance, which you can see. But again, it takes training and practice.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
No, and like refing is hard too, and it's like also like there isn't always a clear answer. Like it is subjective. So like you kind of do just have to like, make a call, stick to your guns and have a good reason for it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And the biggest thing is being consistent.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you are a bit lenient, like okay, like Tim is a little more lenient than I am typically. I used to be very soft, but then I was like, nah, I'm mean now. So, like, if I am being mean, I try to or not mean, but, like, a little more strict, I try to, like, be consistent with that, and when Tim is a bit more lenient, he also is just consistent with that, and that's totally fine. Both of those are valid.
Yeah, we're really getting into refing now, but like, yeah, it's the most important thing. Number one, consistency for sure. Being fair about those calls, and again, you make mistakes and you miss things here and there, but consistency is the most important. Um, I lost my train of thought there. I think that training would really help though with people to understand how to ref better, understand those nuances of people in those moments for sure. Also, it comes back to course design, like designing a course that doesn't leave much room for that gray area.
Sure,
You know,
yeah.
like if you're having a balance obstacle and it's like an inch off the ground, their like toes go over it. Like put it a little higher so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna be honest, I think if a course refs poorly, that's, like, a quality indicator of the course that it's, like, not that great, to be honest.
Yeah, or just having stupid rules like, oh, you can't touch this thing that's in front of you. Then like, but that doesn't like for me
Oh,
as a
that always pisses me off.
Yeah, for me as a ref and as a course designer, it's like I want people to do the obstacle. Like I want them to enjoy the obstacle. We spend a lot of time creating and making them. I want them to do it. So like if they're gonna, why would you put, let's say, a mat in front of something that they can't touch? Maybe again, this comes back to course design and rules with like forced moves and stuff sometimes. But like again, like as a designer, then just design your obstacle a little better so you don't have to rely on this one blocker that someone might accidentally graze against to make them do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, it is kinda, like, silly. I think the other thing too is, like, people have to recognize that, like, course designing is, like, a skill, and obstacle execution is, like, a part of that. Like, I think, like, as you're learning to course design, there's nothing wrong with holding back on some of your more ambitious obstacles that, frankly, you may not be ready to implement into a comp. Like, you might just not be ready, like, able to execute that obstacle properly, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if I was a painter and I tried to, like, paint the Mona Lisa and it kinda sucked, everyone would be like, "Oh, well, that makes sense. Brad's not a painter," right? So, like, I think it's a lot of times too, like, you just have to kinda look at yourself and, like, recognize, like, you might just not be able to pull off this obstacle. Like, so my last tier 2, right? I had this obstacle I wanted to do where you would pull a rope to raise up a ramp so you could go up to a slider, and I thought it was really cool, and I had this way I was gonna do it, but, like, my setup got behind, and frankly, I was just like, "I don't think it is worth it for me to try and execute this obstacle because I don't know if I can execute it well enough or in time, frankly, to, like,
Mhm.
actually put it in the competition," and people still liked that obstacle. It was just a normal ramp you run up, and you grab pyramids, slide down it, it was great. Like, there's nothing wrong with just being like, "Okay, maybe this isn't the time for this." Like, I haven't thought about this enough. Like,
Mhm.
there's obstacles I've worked on for years and haven't implemented yet.
Right.
So, like, I don't know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think that's definitely true. And then with we keep mentioning course design a lot. I think it's important because obviously, like you are who you are. But yeah, understanding how things are ref, like you're saying, obstacle execution is important. Like, how is it going to be from the refing standpoint? Whether you're the course designer and the ref or not, like thinking through those nuanced details is important for sure.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is like, so I've obviously worked on like WNL has one of probably the most limiting format in terms of like what is a world's obstacle. Like plenty of obstacles that fly at a normal WNL or at an NSC just simply would not fly at worlds, whether it be they don't scale well, they're too complicated, various reasons.
Resets take too long or something.
Reset takes too long. Yep. That was my problem my first year. All my obstacles took too long to reset, so I got like so many obstacles rejected. But it was good. Like, that made me a much better course designer, frankly, like and I think thinking about those things will make you a better course designer, like, "Oh, can I reset this obstacle quickly?" Especially if you're doing, like, a challenge course, like, oh, you gotta make that reset quick.
Oh yeah.
But, like, those things, like, "Okay, is this obstacle gonna be good to ref?" Because I think, like, obstacles can be ruined by how they function within the competition. Like, say you have a super cool obstacle, but it breaks or works inconsistently or has a bunch of weird calls on it. That like detracts from the obstacle quite a bit. So like those are things like you have to think about. And like frankly, like if you're making this really complicated obstacle, are you as the course designer going to want to deal with this thing for your entire competition? Sometimes, yeah, but, like, it's not always gonna be worth it. Like, at Worlds, like, I'm not trying to deal with some, like, super finicky, complicated obstacle that only I can work on, because it's just not a reasonable expectation on myself to do that, you know? Like, I can only do so much, and I'm so freaking tired the whole time, I'm probably gonna mess it up anyway, right? So, like, that's something you have to kinda keep in mind, like, I always try to make my course I try to have it be that the rigging is the difficult part of my course, but then the actual administration and adjustment of it is easy. So that like when I am more tired and have more pressure on me during the competition, I can actually like execute my course well and I didn't bite off more than I can chew.
Yeah. Um, wow, we're really getting I think that's a really, really important thing that people need to think about. Like when it comes to event planning, the logistics of the event, how smoothly the competition runs, the refing, all these things we've been discussing, a lot of it does is come back to course design.
Yeah, like
So
with the
much of it.
W&L schedule, we designed the courses off of the schedule to fit within a certain amount of time, like and like that's how we make the schedule. Like the course time limit plus the reset time is where the schedule comes from. So like that is something you have to think about. And honestly, I found having to deal with that made my outside of W&L worlds competitions a lot easier to work with. Um, because I'm like used to having that more limited, simpler thing. But like I don't know, I think there's a lot of beauty in simplicity. Where like, you don't necessarily need to have these insane mechanical obstacles. Like some of the best obstacles are the most simple ones.
Well, 100%. And I feel like creativity needs some sort of restriction to fully flourish.
For sure. Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's why I like setting for tier two actually, because I find it very limiting. Because like I'm like a former pro ninja. I'm used to doing like my like reputation was that I was doing like the craziest obstacles and stuff.
Oh yeah,
So then
hardest stuff, yeah.
now it's like I'm trying to make this tier two course, and it's like, so I can't use any of the obstacles that I would normally be doing, or if I am using them, I have to like really think about it.
Oh yeah.
But then I think like those have been some of my best courses. Like because of that limitation.
I think yeah, I feel like you also love it. Like you put so much work into your tier twos. This is one this last one specifically, you like did you put so much time into
I
it.
love tier two. Well, here's my thing, man. I think that your skill within Ninja says nothing about you. Like it's or okay, if you worked really hard to get good, that's awesome. Like that is great for you. But like if you just aren't as naturally talented, that doesn't mean that you or just haven't had the opportunity to do as much training because like, there are plenty of people in like the west of the US that have to drive super far to get to a ninja gym. And that's just a disadvantage. So if you are in tier two, like that doesn't mean that you're any less worthy of consideration. And I like because I was making this course and it was complicated. People are saying to me like, "Oh, this is a tier two. Like you're doing all this for a tier two." I'm like, "Yes," because like these people are just as deserving of consideration as the tier one kids, if not more so, because like our goal is to bring them up into the sport. Like why would you want to have like a lower effort tier two? Like I don't know.
Dude, it's a great message, and honestly, like you, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You always are so inspiring with the way you think about things, and you're just right. Like it's the truth. Like we should put more work into these tier twos, and the way you described about yeah, like and bringing them into the sport and making sure things are exciting is like it's so true. And maybe more course designers, including myself, need to put more time into them. You know what I mean? Like I think you're pushing it really well, and even like with the women's stuff that you've done in the past, like you really have been a forerunner in pushing women's course design or change outs, which is so important. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's really important to me. Like, I mean, frankly, like some of my best friends are like female ninjas. So like I want them to have like a good experience that I have had cuz no one has eaten better over the course of the history of ninja than the pro males. And very few have had the short end of the stick more than the pro females, frankly. So like I feel like it's like that's like a wrong that needs to be righted. And like, I'm in the position where I can do that because my like fundamental principle is that female course design is not difficult. So long as you put effort into it. Um, I really don't think it's that hard. You just have to like take the time to educate yourself on how to do it correctly. And then put the effort in to actually do it. And that is hard. Like I'll be honest with you, it took me a long time to understand it, and there are times where I'm setting up my women's course or going from my women's course to my men course where I'm like, man, this is a lot of work, but like it ends up being worth it because it's worth it for the competitors, and like the female ninjas work just as hard as the male ninjas, so there's no reason that like I shouldn't work just as hard for them. Is kind of how I feel about it.
yeah, I feel like every course designer needs to be that way. Like it leads, yeah, just it leads to the better event. Like because people notice when you put work into your courses, you know,
Mhm.
and I feel like that's why you have become so popular and famous in the community with your course design because of the amount of effort you put into your stuff.
Yeah, for sure. What's it? One of the at my tier two this weekend. One of the parents who I've known for a while. Her one kid I teach in tier one, and then her other kid does tier two. she said to me like that she really like loved that course and she appreciated it so much as the parent of a tier 2 kid who usually isn't like running a course that's like as interesting or had as much work put into it. And she really like appreciated that. And that kid had a great time. And like again, no reason that that kid deserves any less consideration than any of the tier 1 kids. Like he's a person too. At the end of the day, we're all just people. So like I see no reason that like the tier 2s or like the masters deserve less consideration. Frankly, I think they deserve more because they have had the short end of the stick for so long.
100%. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and it's cool to see people like you really pushing that thing, and it inspires everyone around you. I mean, yeah, I hope more people, especially after hearing this, really understand how passionate, how much you love this stuff, how much you do with the best intentions, and everyone who thinks that you even have the slightest thought that you cheat or that you tell people about worlds courses because I know you get this a lot, and I feel so bad for you because you are so passionate, you love it so much, you would never do that. You have integrity, and it's because you work at a gym doesn't mean that you're a villain who cheats and tells people what the courses are. You don't tell anyone anything. I like I'm your boss technically, I guess. You don't tell me jack and shit. You don't tell me anything. I don't know anything about the world's courses ever. You're so humble and you love the sport, and because you love the sport so much, why in the hell would you take away from its integrity by cheating like that?
Yeah, it's stupid, bro. And like I don't know. It's almost too like it's kind of an L to be one of my students because like okay, imagine you're one of my students and you work really hard, you care about worlds, and you're one of the students that like kind of like every obviously different kids jive with different coaches. Like there are kids that like Tim is their closest coach. I am the closest coach to some of them, right? Imagine you're one of those kids and then you pull up to Worlds and then boom, you just don't have your coach. Like that sucks.
Yeah,
And also like I feel like the thing that's tough for me is I feel like I almost have to kind of under prepare my kids for the comp because it's like or I feel bad about it because it's like I'm staying away from techniques that like are reasonable techniques for them to be practicing, but like okay, because I know it's in Worlds, I need to be careful because like, you know, if they post it or whatever and people see that and then it's in world, then it's like a whole thing. Even if it's like an existing obstacle, like the cliffhanger. Like I got in trouble for the paddle cliffhangers. It's like, are you kidding me? But I don't know. Like my thought is like the secrecy of the obstacles is one of the most important parts to the fairness of the competition. And like that's the most important part because like you know even okay with the obstacle secrecy right like because we could in theory just like give everyone the course ahead of time but then that has a huge impact on like people who are economically disadvantaged like say
100%.
we released all the obstacles ahead of time then people who just don't have as good of access to gyms or just can't afford to go to a gym or can't afford to buy obstacles won't be able to do as well in the competition so the most fair like way to run the competition is to keep the obstacles a secret. And like that's like important to me. Like I care about that. Like I feel like so much of what I've said has come back to that fairness with like the tier twos getting equal consideration, the girls, like all that. And like that applies to like people who don't have access to obstacles as well. Like, if we knew every obstacle ahead of time, then like, the gyms that have all the money would win all the competitions. And like that doesn't mean that they didn't work hard, but like, those people, I have so much respect for those people that don't have access to the super nice gyms, but still work super hard in like their backyard or their basement. Cause like that's what ninja's ultimately like about at the end of the day. Like
That's
that's
how
where
I
I came
started. That's how
from.
you started. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep.
Like that's where I came from. So like I want that kid. Cause like my first year of ninja, I didn't have a gym to go to. I didn't have a coach. So like I want those kids that are like that and that are like building their own obstacles. Those kids deserve to see the fruits of their labor just as much as the kids at the super expensive gyms.
100%. Yeah, I think that's so true. I mean, I didn't have a gym for many, many, many years until the first gym opened, which was the Warrior Lab, and that was still 2 hours away from me, so I couldn't go there. I trained on my back by myself most of my ninja career
Yeah,
growing up, you know?
and, like,
So
ultimately, like, are those not the people who deserve to succeed the most? They're the ones who are clearly the most invested.
yeah, yeah, that's
So,
yeah.
like, I don't know.
No, I think that's true, and you do want it to be fair, and because you care so much, and people understand just how much you care. Even from listening to this, you're only scratching the surface of how much you actually care about the sport and about ninja. And we've talked a lot about it, and some people will be like, "Nope, he's a cheater." It's like, are you listening? Like you're hearing what he's saying, but you're not listening to what he's saying. That's really frustrating.
Yeah, and it's all right, and, like, that's probably something, like, I'll never be able to quite get away from so long as I work at the league and coach. But, like, I mean, it's all right, like, so many people have come up to me and been like, "Oh, that's not fair, they're so unfair to you," and, like, you know what? That matters too. Like, for every time I've been called a cheater, someone has come up to me and, like, recognized my hard work, like, 10 times more.
Yeah, which is amazing. I think the people that know you know that you wouldn't do that, know that all that's just bullshit that people make up because they're jealous that their team didn't wasn't successful or whatever. And the thing is, like, one thing that annoys me about us specifically is like people understand like leading up to Worlds, you're not really in the gym much. You're obviously focusing on Worlds. Like it's like I'm the one who's planning practices. You don't come to Worlds practices specifically. Like it's not like you don't have involvement with that because of the position you're in right
Yeah.
now. Like it'd be different like if you were planning every practice and like especially the Worlds practices, but you don't.
I don't plan our practices in general, bro. I'm so lazy. I just come in and teach. Like,
Yeah, like again, I usually have the plan. We have a board right here in the office
yeah.
you can't see
Yeah,
because the
like, I think
cam.
we have a good division of labor. You plan and I set stuff up.
Yeah,
I think that's a great division of labor. I don't like planning, and I have more time to set up, so it works.
exactly. And because you work for the WNL, it doesn't make it's again and we
There's
treat
less conflict of interest for me.
correct, which is what
Yeah.
we strive for here. We don't like we have integrity at this gym. Another thing is like every single year that our team has been a team, we have had somebody podium at Worlds in something before you even coached here. For years and years, our team has been successful all season long. We go to comps, we podium sweep sometimes. We'll have podiums in every single division. These kids work so freaking hard. That's why they're successful at Worlds,
Mm.
not because you're the course designer.
Yeah, like,
So,
I, like, do such a bad job preparing them for Worlds. Like, what's it? I remember, so I think everyone knew the padlock was gonna be in Worlds last year. Like, it was on DGS. It's well known that I really like the padlock. And one of my students came up to me and was like, "Yo, Brad, can you set up the padlock?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then never happened.
yep, yep.
And like, okay, realistically, like, should I have probably set that up? Like, you can make that argument. Like, you know, like it's a common obstacle. It was on the show. It was a DGS product. I don't think it would have been unfair for my kids to have access to it. But like ultimately, my thought is like if I am a good coach, then my kids are adaptable enough that they don't need to have practiced the obstacle.
100%.
Like, I mean, I'm so much about the understanding the obstacles that, like, I mean, I would hope my kids can look at the padlock, understand it, and then be able to execute it without having
And if
tried
they
it.
don't, that's why we have coaches there. Like we can explain to them, okay, this is how this works because we have the experience. Again, like our team works very hard. Matt and I both have been doing ninja for such a long time. We were kids that grew up in the sport. We were there going to competitions with our idols essentially. So we know exactly what it feels like to start at the bottom as a kid and work up to the elite level. So because we have that knowledge, we can share it with our kids, and that's another reason why they're so successful. You know, like it's just how it is.
Yeah, we've also just coached a lot of comps, bro.
Yeah. So many comps.
So yeah. Oof.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing it for so long, and it's just like the thing that really irks when people have these opinions. Again, not knowing you and knowing us here is that like you take away from everyone's hard work here. Like the people that accuse us of cheating, it's like I don't care what your intentions were. You took away from every single one of those kids who worked hard for years to get to where they're at.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, it's like when Jace won, like Jace has been doing ninja for so long.
Since he like came out the womb, I think. Like
Yeah, and like Ethan Poe, like poor Ethan Poe, like that family doesn't have a lot of money, and like their dad like literally cleans the gym to pay for their membership.
100, yeah,
Like
literally.
that kid works so hard, and it's like, and he's like the sweetest kid ever. Like everyone who knows him is like, oh, we love Ethan.
Yeah, and literally the kids we were talking about that don't have access to great gyms. He doesn't have a fancy 30,000 plus dollar course in his backyard. He just has like, a place that they screw two
With some
cliffhanger ledges on.
cliffhangers
You
screwed
know,
onto it. Yeah.
like it's just like you take. I don't care what your intentions were. You devalue their performance. And again, using Jace as an example, is like he he podiumed the year before that. The year
He
before that,
won
he
UNA multiple
yeah,
times.
he won exactly. Like he is a skilled athlete. We're very fortunate to have him. We've been coaching him since he like first started being at the age where he could train at the gym. Like, like you don't just because someone wins worlds, it doesn't mean they cheated. Doesn't like that's not what it is. Like it's not like why are you jumping to those conclusions and like what are you and by saying that what are you teaching your kids that when you see someone who's successful, you automatically assume oh they cheated, not that they worked hard, not that they did this or that. Like what do you know like it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think the thing too, like, okay, the first year, like, we probably could have done a better job with like the obstacle like selection, but then like for all the next years, like this year, people have like no idea what the obstacles are. Like, I'd be very surprised if anyone was able to guess the obstacles for this year, and I also just know for a fact that I haven't been putting my kids on them. Half of them I don't even have access to because they're new obstacles that are at DGS, and then the other half are like, I mean, I don't know, like some obstacles you probably should be able to do anyway. Like,
Yeah, I think the thing as a coach is like understanding what the fundamental techniques are and then understanding teaching your kids like you were saying to be adaptable to be able to apply those techniques on whatever obstacle it is.
yeah, for sure. Like, I think if I produce an athlete that can only do obstacles that they've practiced on and like isn't able to engage with new obstacles and think them through, then like I have failed as a coach.
100%.
Because like that's fundamentally what ninja is about. Like trying a new obstacle and getting it on your first try or not getting it on your first try. But the people who ultimately succeed are the ones who can do that. So the skill I'm teaching is not necessarily how to do the existing obstacles, but how to do new obstacles as they like appear.
Yeah.
Because like that's like fundamentally like imagine you're a Japanese competitor and you pull up to stage 2 and you just saw the salmon ladder for the first time.
Yup.
Like, you know what I
Like,
mean?
what the hell?
Dude, I know, like, that must have been crazy for them. Or
Yeah.
when they made the first moving cliffhanger.
Oh my god, yeah, Jesus.
Oh, yeah,
Or
like, or
like
the
the
warp wall for the first
oh,
time?
jeez, yeah.
Yeah,
So
like,
many.
that's the thing that people kinda, like, forget about, like, that is what ninja is, like, about
Literally,
ultimately.
and that's what we try to teach our kids is being able to adapt in those situations, and, for me as a coach, like, again, I go back to those core fundamental techniques, like, using the example of a lateral lâché, and a lateral lâché is like a wing nut, like lâchéing sideways instead of, like, front to back. Like, that technique has been used in so many obstacles
It's, like, my
nowadays.
favorite technique, bro. It's, like, in every one of my courses, I love that technique.
Yeah, it's, like, a great technique, and it doesn't matter what you're holding on to, whether it's 2 nunchucks, whether it's a wing nut, whether it's a padlock, like, that core technique stays the same. So if you teach your kids these core techniques, they can apply them on whatever obstacle it is. And, like, even, like, things like well, maybe you can speak you're very obviously a tech guy, but to me, like, the sky hook, the flying bar, they're all, like,
It's
these
all the same.
it's all the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, the flying bar was the first moving with obstacles obstacle that came out. I mean, I guess
Pipe
salmon
slider.
ladder, pipe slider, true. But then as it's gotten more in advance, like, you're just putting a different object in your hands. Whether it's a batarang or a cane or a bolt cutter, like, it's the same thing, it's just different. You know,
Yeah,
it's a different
and
thing.
with those, it is all the same thing, like, you think about the same things, and they're just like instruments, like, violin, guitar, cello, they're all very similar, but are slightly different, and that's how it is with those different objects, like and the main thing with those is you just gotta spend time with them, like, I don't know, like, flying bar for me, that's like an extension of my body, like, I can put the bar wherever, and that's because I've put the work into practicing it,
Yep.
and I can apply what I've done with the flying bar to other obstacles. So, what's it? I had done a like reverse flying bar move before, and then I remember the first time I had to do one of those with a sky hook in a competition. I mean, I basically did the same thing just with a ring, right? So, I don't know, like just understanding those fundamentals, like because all obstacles kind of just like are the same at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So if you know how to do obstacles, you can figure them all out eventually.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I hope people will listen to this and understand that that is not the kind of human being that you are, and that like that just like again, I go back to it where it's like you want people that are passionate about the sport. You want people that are involved in the sport to be designing these world class events because they're the ones who know the most about. It. They're the ones that are going to make these events be successful, and it shows. Like I would argue that worlds has become so much better since you have been course designing, since people like Greg and Nick have gotten involved. Like it's just gotten better. It's
Yeah,
like
like, me and Greg and Nick put so much thought in this. Like, we were sitting in a meeting the other day, like, looking at the obstacles and thinking of how we can, like, cut the bars down so we could, like, afford the event. And, like, me and Greg, like, go up to DGS and, like, get a hotel and, like, test the obstacles ahead of time. And, like, we're sitting here thinking about, like, oh, well, does this obstacle, like, work for this division? If we do this, we can adjust it this way. Like, the amount of thought and effort we put into these things and all these like minute little details that we think about is like a lot, but like we do it because we care. Um, and like I don't know, like I would appreciate if like we got the credit I feel like we deserve, especially Nick and Greg, because like I get my flowers all the time, but they don't always as much. So and they put just as much work into it as I do, maybe just not in a way that's as like visible. Like I do have the advantage of being a bit more well known, and I do a lot of the demos and I do rules a lot. So like people kind of associate me with the event. But like Nick and Greg do just as much as I do. Greg does more than I do.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That's so true. Dude, we've done 2 hours and 48 minutes.
I got set for my lesson.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, but hey, again, thank you so much for doing this, man. Like, I really hope people can learn from this. We talked about so many things from course design to worlds to the future of Ninja. It's been truly awesome, and I feel like there's so many things more we could talk about. So maybe we'll have to run it again in the future. Um, I mean, real quick, maybe tell people like where they can find you at social media, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, like the main thing is my Instagram, Matt_Bradley_ninja. You can find me there. And then also just my obstacle line at DGS under BarnBuilt and all just DGS in general, man. We make good obstacles. There's good people up there. So yeah, and then you can find me probably at your local competition because I'm probably administrating it.
You've been doing lots of comps, bro. It's crazy, helping gyms all over the country. Um, yeah, we didn't even talk about barn bill. That's a next time thing for sure. We got to get more into that. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. And yeah, Matt, you're awesome. You're the goat. Thanks so much.
Thank you.